Have you ever imagined having a normal life, but after turning down the most beautiful girl in the class, she turns into a yandere, holding a tarot card and saying that today you're going to die? That's exactly what happened. She grabbed his arm tightly, but Young ran away because that beautiful girl had turned into an ugly monster that wanted his body. But how could something like this happen in a world that was supposed to be normal? Somewhere, the protagonist drops his groceries on the ground. He looks up, stunned. He stammers that there was a giant snake. A set of claws grabs a building beside him. The young man is shocked by this. He now sees the face of a dragon. He turns to run, screaming in fear, until he bumps into someone. The protagonist looks up in surprise. The shadowy figure with 2 swords on his back says that it's a dragon, not a snake. Suddenly, the protagonist wakes up. He's breathing heavily as he sits up in his bed. He wonders if it was all just a dream. Then reality hits, and he starts to feel a chill in his body. The young man turns up the thermostat. He then walks through his house and into the kitchen. He prepares a bowl with the last of his rice, only to realize there's none left. He throws the empty rice bag away. Then he goes to the bathroom. Youngjin thinks he'll have to eat something later. Outside, he walks with a bag of rice until he notices something on the street. A dog was rummaging through his trash. The protagonist feels a sense of unease. He throws his rice away in the trash can, but then looks over at the dog. He goes into a convenience store where he was going to buy his food. He notices something on the shelf. He sees dog food up there. The protagonist considers it, thinking it's too expensive. But then he approaches the dog with the food. The little dog eats, and the protagonist tells him he's a good boy and shouldn't go through the trash again. But the dog leaves the sausage aside. It watches as Youngjin walks away. The protagonist continues walking through the city and opens his earbud case. He puts them in while looking at his phone, where a notification wishes him a happy birthday. The young man looks up at the city skyline. At Sampo High School, first-year students are told to close the doors. Someone comments that he's definitely an ENTP because he doesn't plan anything. Another girl asks Young-ji where she's going, and she replies that she's headed to Class 5. There's going to be a tarot reading there. She asks Jihye to give her feedback after the reading. The others say it's intriguing, but necessary. But it was very expensive, costing 10,000 won. Youngjin thinks about how she can make so much money in a single session. It's no wonder certain groups keep trying to convince people. He wonders if they're naive or something. If it were real, people born on the same day would have the same personality. If they just thought about it for a second, they'd realize how strange it is. He has a lot to say, but figures it's better to keep it to himself. Just then, a friend slaps him on the back, wishing him a happy birthday. Youngjin asks what that was, and his friend says it was a fresh birthday bun. It's not much, but it's a birthday present. He didn't know which kind he liked, so he got a variety. The protagonist asks if he's really giving him bread as a birthday gift. His friend replies that it's a happy birthday with a bun. Youngjin offers them to his other friends, telling them to take one. He asks if there's anything to drink and grabs a juice box. They mention they should get something to eat after school and ask if the protagonist has dinner plans with his family. But the protagonist's expression darkens. He asks who goes out for dinner on their birthday, and says they should just finish school quickly. Suddenly the door opens, and a classmate wishes the protagonist a happy birthday. He tells him to be careful today, because he had a dream where his teeth broke, and the people around him were getting hurt. The protagonist asks if he grinds his teeth while sleeping, but the classmate says his dreams end up coming true, just like last time. His friends say the way he gets nervous is annoying, so they should make a bet in case they don't get hurt, for 10,000 won. His friend says he bets 10,000 that he'll get hurt. 10,000 saying Youngjin will get hurt today, tapping the back of his neck. Another classmate makes the same bet, and they start to playfully surround him. The protagonist runs away. Then, a broom taps both friends on the shoulder. A voice warns them it's 5,000 for not getting hurt, and that he'll protect Youngjin. His friends start arguing about it. The protagonist opens the door to leave the room. He thinks his classmates have too much money. A girl runs past and bumps his shoulder, knocking several cards from her hand. The protagonist apologizes, and she says it's fine. He helps her pick them up, but then notices something. He wonders what that card is. It's the Hanged Man from the tarot deck, which means loss and suffering. He says he's picked up everything that fell, but the girl grabs his hands. The protagonist is surprised and asks what she's doing. The girl just stares at the cards. Youngjin doesn't get it and tries to understand her actions. The girl asks if it's his birthday today. The protagonist confirms it. She takes the cards from his hand, saying she'll read his fortune, and asks if he wants to pick a card. She tells him not to be boring and just pick one, while Youngjin tries to refuse, as he's really not a fan of these things. His classmate tells him he hasn't gone far and should stay put before he gets hurt. He must remain still to avoid serious injury. The protagonist starts running right after, but his friend warns him that the teacher is coming. The girl notices a card on the floor. She squats down to pick it up, seeing the death card, Major Arcana 13. which signifies rebirth. Another girl asks what Huisu is doing, but the girl just turns and walks away with her friends. Time passes in class, and the teacher explains that's how things happen. Youngjin takes notes until he suddenly falls asleep. The teacher asks if they need some cold air to wake up, telling someone to open the window. The protagonist looks at the guy next to him and asks what page they're on, joking that he's something else while the teacher lectures them. Then he notices something pass by the window. The protagonist is startled by it. He wonders what that was. A teacher asks for his name. He's been staring into the hallway for a while. His friend answers that it's Kwon Youngjin. The teacher asks if he wants them to open the hallway window, but the young man says no, explaining that there's something out there. But when he looks again, no one is there. The teacher asks who the student next to Youngjin is, while the protagonist thinks he might have seen it wrong. He quickly opens the door and leaves the classroom. He wonders what that was earlier. Suddenly, someone approaches from behind and wishes him a happy birthday, tapping the back of his neck. Youngjin turns around, wanting to know what the problem is, but Sihu just says it's him. The protagonist is surprised. The guy asks if Youngjin can do something different with his hair, because he doesn't want to pretend he knows him. Youngjin thinks he's obnoxious, and Sihu gets annoyed. He asks what's with that look, as if he offended him in his thoughts. But that person must think he doesn't know. Just then, Huisu pulls the protagonist back. She asks who he is and what he's doing with her boyfriend. Both of them are completely stunned by this. Sihu asks them about it, wanting to know if Youngjin is her boyfriend. He asks if it's some kind of joke, but the girl denies it. The protagonist thinks it's the girl from earlier. Sihu asks if this is serious because it's ridiculous, and the girl retorts that the only ridiculous thing is his attitude. The guy gets angry and asks what he's supposed to do against a girl. He taps the protagonist's shoulder while apologizing, because now he has a girlfriend. And that's great since Lee Huisu is rich. Now he's no longer poor, he says, trying to provoke him. Then he walks away. Huisu asks if he's okay and what the other guy said, but the protagonist pulls away from her, asking what she's doing since he's not her boyfriend. He questions what will happen if rumors spread about this. Huisu replies that she would actually like that. She asks if she can go out with Youngjin. The protagonist asks if this is some kind of joke, but the girl denies it, saying she really likes him. Youngjin refuses and apologizes to her. The girl stays behind, looking at him coldly. Over the next few days, she followed him everywhere when he was with his friends. She even gave him a strawberry juice box with cute notes on it. His friend tells him to just spit it out because he can't hide it anymore. He wants to know if he's really dating Huisu, but the protagonist denies it. Then another friend tells him his girlfriend is at the classroom door. The girl calls out Youngjin's name. The protagonist is shocked, wondering why this is happening so suddenly. She continues trailing him. Finally, the protagonist stops in his tracks, warning her to cut it out before he gets angry. The girl pleads with him not to be like that, but Youngjin tells her to stop again, wondering if she's crazy. Huisu says she'll try harder. The protagonist replies that she doesn't need to try, since they don't even know each other. But the girl insists that she loves him. Youngjin says he'll have it her way then. He breaks up with her right there. From now on, they are strangers. He walks away, leaving her behind. The girl covers her face with her hands. Later that day, the protagonist walks home, checking his phone on the street as more messages pour in. His friends say he's dating Huisu and that it would be cool to go out with her friends. They tell him he should just admit it. The protagonist types that it isn't true and hits send. Then, he looks up and sees the dog in front of his house again. That little puppy stares at him relentlessly. Youngjin thinks it must be looking for food again and just hasn't left. He walks up to it, then heads inside his house, glancing back at the door. The protagonist enters his home and sets his groceries on the floor. He looks in the mirror for a few moments until a drop of water splashes down, signaling the start of the rain. The rain is relentless. Moved by the sight, the protagonist dries off the dog, which is now inside his house. The dog shakes off the water, soaking the boy, then looks at him and runs off. The protagonist asks if he's making himself at home, seeing the dog under the blanket. A smile spreads across his face. He puts out some food for the dog, remarking that seeing him like this makes it seem like his owner forgot him or abandoned him, though he suspects the dog never had an owner to begin with. The dog walks over and climbs onto his legs, getting close to the boy and looking into his face. Then, the dog places both paws on his chest and starts scratching him. Youngjin asks what the problem is. Today has been full of surprises, and this dog is one of them. Suddenly, the dog stares fixedly at the window. The protagonist notices a silhouette. His dog starts barking. The boy asks what's wrong now and tries to quiet him down. Then, someone knocks on the door. Thinking no one should be visiting at this hour, he walks to the door and looks through the peephole. The girl says it's her, startling the protagonist. Youngjin asks who it is, and she keeps answering. She repeats the protagonist's question, finally answering that it's Huisu. Yangjin opens the door to find the girl completely soaked. He asks how she found this place. She says it's the concept of a girlfriend coming back after being rejected by her boyfriend. The protagonist gets annoyed, but his expression shifts to surprise when he sees she's drenched to the bone. He closes the door and tells her to wait a minute. He tosses her a towel, telling her to use it, holding an umbrella in his hand. Outside, she asks to share the umbrella because it's freezing. Instead, the protagonist takes off his coat and tells her to put it on. He demands to know how she knew where he lives. The girl admits she followed him. The protagonist asks if she's crazy. She followed him all the way home? He wants to know why she's doing this to him. She needs to stop acting weird and say what she wants. The girl asks if he'll give it to her if she tells him. The protagonist says he'll listen. Huisu replies that she wants him, leaving the protagonist surprised. He asks if she's serious. He tells her to go home, wondering if he looks easy to her. The girl asks if he wants money. The protagonist turns around, irritated, but then she offers 100,000 won per hour to go out with him. The boy asks if this is some bad joke. A student would never have that kind of money, but she replies that she does, showing a bank account with 11 million won. The protagonist wonders if this is real. He tells her she's crazy and asks if her parents know about this. The girl sends him the money. The protagonist questions his own sanity. She makes it seem so easy. No matter what, it's weird. He says they'll do this until the bus arrives and they won't act like strangers. The girl asks if he's worried about rumors. She suggests they could do it without money since Yangjin doesn't have parents. It was a secret among his friends, she adds, saying he has to treat her well. The protagonist is stunned. The girl offers her hand, saying it's very cold. He thinks about it for a moment, then clenches his fist. He tells her to get lost. He's sending the money back. He thinks she went crazy for a second and tells her to take the umbrella and go to school. Huisu says she hates girls and hates money and that pretending was too expensive. She adds that he is a boy who will soon be in danger. The protagonist asks what she means. She says it's going to happen today, pulling out a card. Her tarot never lies. He's in danger today. The protagonist tells her to get a grip. Suddenly, the girl screams at him to get a grip. She finds it frustrating that all he has is this empty body, yet he's still so proud. Yangjin can't understand what she's saying and gets annoyed, calling her crazy. The girl insists he's in danger today and that he must give his body to her. She grabs his arm and pulls him close. His umbrella drops to the ground. Then, she tackles him. Yangjin asks what she's doing, but he feels immense pain in his arm. Then he realizes it. The thing holding him now is a monster. A monstrous voice calls out Yangjin's name, asking if her hands were cold. The protagonist is terrified. The creature says it's because he didn't hold them fast enough. Yangjin wonders what this is. Maybe special effects makeup? But then he realizes something. Huisu is still there. The creature says it will ask one more time. It wants to know if he will give up his body. He must answer yes or no. It gives him 3 seconds, starting the countdown immediately. The protagonist stares ahead as she counts 2. When she hits 3, he bolts. The monster chases him using Huisu's legs. The protagonist wonders what kind of nightmare this is. The monster prepares a strike, calling out for Quan Yongjin. It smashes the ground, forcing the boy to jump. Yongjin is about to fall, but the monster grabs him, saying it caught what it wanted. However, the monster collapses because of Huisu's legs, dropping the protagonist to the ground. Yongjin stands up, his back aching. That hurt a lot. The monster starts moving using its arms, then scrambles after him. The protagonist realizes this is definitely not a dream. If he gets caught, he's in grave danger. He spots an alleyway and dives in, panting heavily, trying to catch his breath. He looks back, seeing only darkness. The alley is narrow. She shouldn't be able to fit. He sits on the ground. Suddenly, the monster's voice asks if he thought she couldn't make it, moving its hand toward him. Yangjin is startled. The monster says it's disappointing because he's so skinny. The protagonist tries to stand but can't. His legs won't move. The monster touches his head, calling him pitiful, living in a dirty basement, hiding it from his friends. He's miserable. The protagonist decides to scream for help, but this time, there is no answer. The monster tells Yangjin to look around. There's no one to save him. He should just give up. There's no need to fight for his life. If he answers, it will let him live. Instead, the protagonist breaks free and runs. The monster calls his name, asking if he's serious and why he's resisting so much. It didn't say it would take his life. He just needs to hand over his body. It will make things easier for him, just like Huisu. It tells him to come back, repeating the command, and then attacks the protagonist with force. The boy loses consciousness. The monster looks at its own hand. It says he was supposed to just come here, but now it has damaged his body. It gets furious, realizing there's nothing to be done about it now, saying it's very disappointing that this happened to his body. The protagonist wonders if this is real, if he's going to die like this. But when he thinks about it, Living like that wasn't necessary. Maybe it's better to just die. Then he realizes something. These dreams might not be just superstitions. The monster says that if it can't have Kwon Young-jin, it will destroy him with this. It opens its mouth to attack the protagonist. Young-jin just accepts his fate until the dog starts running towards him. Then it leaps towards the monster. The creature is defeated in a single blow. The dog transforms into a shaman. Young-jin watches this in his final moments. He is now behind the supernatural being. The shaman cleans his sword, speaking of the year of Gaijin, the month of Jungmyo, and the day of Byung-sul, wishing Kwon Young-jin a happy birthday, revealing that he is his descendant. Sometime later, the protagonist wakes up back in his house. He notes that it's hot and he's sweating a lot. He starts tossing and turning in bed. He sees the time and several notifications on his phone, including one from his friend Song-gun, asking if he got beaten. The protagonist gets up, wondering what time it is. He's running late and starts grabbing his clothes, having overslept. Then he remembers what happened, the monster attacking him. The protagonist looks at his completely regenerated hand. He thinks to himself that he's alive, and wonders what happened, because that was Lee Huisu. Suddenly his teacher calls him, later, near the statue at Sampo High School. A teacher wonders why this thing is still on and who messed with it. The protagonist walks through the gate, wondering if Huisu will show up today. He sighs and walks away. As the day goes on, people start heading out for lunch. Some girls comment that Huisu seems weird and that they need her to read their fortunes, adding that it's annoying. The protagonist looks through her classroom window and sees the girl talking normally. He wonders how she can seem so okay, and if he should go find out what happened yesterday. His friend points out that he got to school at lunchtime, and that he ignored his messages, only to show up chasing after his girlfriend. Youngjin tries to deny it, saying he was busy yesterday. Then he notices the girl looking at him. His friend mocks him for showing up just to find his girlfriend. He adjusts his glasses, then asks Youngjin why he's crouching. He asks if he got excited when they looked at each other, adding that he's jealous. But he also says it's pathetic for him to be groveling like this. Later, the school day ends. The protagonist thinks that he can't remember, but he was about to lose his life. However, he doesn't know what happened after that or how he got home. If it were a dream, it would make a lot more sense. But if it wasn't a dream, he wonders how he received the 100,000 won from Huisu. He considers asking her, but then remembers his arm looked normal. His day continues, and in the nurse's office, the nurse asks if anything is wrong. She asks if he ate something, since nothing seems out of the ordinary. Since the bell rang, she says he can go. Youngjin walks out with his phone, thinking he didn't even pay attention in class. Then he passes a door and Huisu says, "Excuse me?" The protagonist is startled, and she apologizes for it. She says she heard he went to the teacher's lounge and decided to wait. Youngjin wonders if her hobby is stalking him, and if she can't just act normal. The girl says she didn't mean to bother him and that she's sorry. The protagonist looks around, noticing no one else is there. He tells her they should go somewhere with more people, because she could attack at any moment. The girl tries to deny it, saying she was possessed by a ghost at the time. It's a long story, but the protagonist notices something different. The girl apologizes for hurting him. She says she's really sorry, right as a statue appears behind her. Youngjin asks why that thing is there, but the girl doesn't understand. He continues, saying that it's the statue from the main gate and it wasn't there before. Then the statue moves and gets ready. It shoots towards them. Huisu shouts for the protagonist to run with her. They both try to escape from the statue. Youngjin asks what she did this time, and the girl says she did nothing. The protagonist questions this, since she did the same thing yesterday, but Huisu says she'll explain everything. It wasn't her, but a ghost named Songaski. Youngjin tells her to shut up and run, because that statue is fast, and at this rate, they could die. Then he sees a cart full of basketballs. The protagonist starts throwing them at the statue in a large barrage. The balls fly towards the spirit, but it readies its feet, leaping over the massive attack. It lands, and the two protagonists change direction. Youngjin says they'll find more people this way, but the girl pulls something out of her jacket. It's a bag of beans, which she throws at the athletic statue. The spirit's eyes turn white, but it blocks all the beans with its hand. Youngjin asks what she's doing. Then he realizes they're near the school's exit gate. He tells her to get outside. The statue keeps running as the protagonist quickly closes the gate. They both hold onto the metal bars, breathing heavily. The statue stops there, staring at them, but it soon turns to leave, and they wonder if it has given up. Until Huisu notices something strange. The statue was using the flagpole from the roof as a pole vault. The protagonist wonders if it's lost its mind. He looks around and spots a cart. The athletic statue moves quickly, but the protagonist tells Huisu to move. He shoves the cart, hitting the statue and making it fall. The spirit falls towards a trash can, getting pinned to the ground right after, but the statue starts to get up, annoyed that it's dirty. The protagonist says they should leave, but the spirit moves right in front of him. It lunges forward with a strike at extraordinary speed, grabbing the protagonist and lifting him off the ground. The statue stares at him coldly as the protagonist groans in pain. Huisu tries to tell it to stop, while a breathless Yongjin keeps smiling. The girl, out of options, pulls something from her jacket. She takes out a blessed bracelet. She gets the spirit's attention, and it glares coldly at her. Huisu then throws the beads, which begin to shatter. They hit the monster's face in a blast of light, making it let go of Yongjin. The monster puts its hands on its face. Huisu asks if Yongjin is okay, but the protagonist says no, so they walk away from there. In a shed full of junk, the girl lights a lighter, and Yongjin comments that she should have used that earlier. Then he notices something and asks what she's lighting. The girl says it's incense. The protagonist asks what she's doing, and she replies that it's a ritual. She was pulling all these things out of her pocket. Then she tears several pieces of cloth. The girl ties it to his wrist, saying it will protect him for now and that he shouldn't remove it until midnight. Yongjin stares coldly at the bracelet. He tells her she's weird and that she must know it. The girl says she knows it seems that way, but she didn't do anything. She asks if they can talk after school, but the protagonist quickly refuses. He says that even if she was possessed yesterday and today was just a coincidence, it doesn't matter. The fact is, ever since he got involved with her, strange things have been happening. The girl tries to argue it's not her fault, and Yongjin thanks her for saving him, but none of this would have happened without her, and they should stop pretending they know each other. The girl remains silent as the protagonist says goodbye. She looks down, saddened. As evening falls, the protagonist arrives home. He presses a button and then looks at the bracelet on his wrist, remembering her words not to remove it until midnight. He wonders what she's planning now. He rips off the cloth and throws it away. He enters his house and flips a switch. The lights turn on, revealing the dog on his bed, which startles him. The protagonist quickly understands the situation. He says, "So you've been here the whole time," but the dog just sits and stares at him. Yongjin comments that it must be hungry. He puts the sausages on a plate. The dog just stares at its food, doing nothing. Meanwhile, the protagonist lies on his bed, using his phone, until a voice says it's happening again, complaining that it was the same food again, startling the protagonist, who quickly turns around. The dog also turns to face him. Then it tells him to bring some real food. Even though he's starving, he'll have to eat this for now. Next time, he should set the table properly. The protagonist stands up, and the dog asks what he's looking for. Yongjin wonders where that voice is coming from. Then the dog says he can finally hear it, and that it's right there, a smile spreading across its canine face. They stare at each other, and the protagonist picks up the dog. The dog gets angry and yells, wanting to know what he's doing. Yongjin drops him, completely stunned, thinking that his dog was talking, and wondering if he's going crazy, if this is schizophrenia. But the dog tells him not to deny reality, because it knows it's crazy to just show up like this in front of him, throwing the blood-stained clothes in the young man's face. Yongjin is shocked and sees the clothes with a torn-off sleeve. He throws it away and looks on in fear, asking if he remembers what happened yesterday. All of Yongjin's past memories come flooding back. He grabs his arm and asks what that dog is. The dog says he should be the one answering that, since he's the one walking and talking, wanting to know if this is the first time this has happened. The protagonist wonders how it can ask that, but the dog tells him to call someone else, like the one who created him, because it needs to understand his family. But the boy replies that he has no one. The dog asks if he's saying his family is gone. Yongjin stands up, asking why it's suddenly talking about this and that he doesn't know any other family members. Then he opens a bottle of water, thinking it's just a stray. The dog reflects that he survived thanks to its power, and that it doesn't seem to be in the wrong place, wondering what happened while it was away. But it asks if the kid isn't going to thank it for being saved yesterday. Yongjin questions this and says it must be a monster then. But the dog gets angry, asking how he could say such a thing, because it's actually his ancestor. Yongjin questions this, saying his ancestor is a dog. So that means he's actually a dog. But the animal replies that he's an imbecile, because it's not a dog, and Yongjin tells it to look in the mirror. The dog says it's not this dog talking, but that he can hear its voice, and the protagonist asks why its mouth is moving. His ancestor replies that it's in this body now. If it were in a human body, it could do different things, and that it's not a dog, getting mad at being called a ghost. But Yongjin asks what it wants from him, because he has no money for an ancestral ritual or a Buddha statue. If it needs help, it should look for another descendant. The dog starts pacing back and forth on the protagonist's bed. Yongjin points out where the bathroom is, but the dog stops pacing, wondering if its family no longer serves it. Yongjin asks what family, since he has no relatives left. Then the dog replies that it has decided. From now on, it would help him. Yongjin asks if it's going to stay here, and the dog asks where else it would go, but the protagonist tells it to get out. The dog says that even after saving this bastard's life, he still treats it like this. While Youngjin replies that he appreciates it, but it has to leave, as he's just a broke student, so he can't take care of an ancestor until the dog notices something. There was something moving past the window. It jumps up, and the protagonist tells the mutt not to scare him, wanting to know why it's barking now. But the ancestor replies that there's something outside, and the protagonist questions it. Then the dog asks what he brought here, with the statue walking outside. Youngjin asks what it means, but the ancestor tells him to go outside, and the protagonist asks why. The dog says it's right out front and not moving. Youngjin grabs the dog and tells this flea bag to stop it and get out, until he also feels the pressure and gets scared. His ancestor pulls his hair and tells him to get up now. Walking outside his house, the dog guides him. Youngjin is surprised because it's a walking statue. The protagonist hides, wondering why it's there, but the dog asks if he knows about it. Then the young man says the statue from his school suddenly turned into a monster, but the ancestor replies that it wasn't a monster, but a spirit. Youngjin asks why spirits look like that, but the dog calls him an idiot. Spirits are entities that emerge when a soul inhabits a non-living thing. They can take many forms, and they exist in lands with countless other spirits. You should think of them as a part of nature. The protagonist repeats the phrase, saying it sounds like a legend. But the ancestor asks why it was angry with him, since spirits are usually gentle and hard to provoke. Youngjin remembers earlier when he threw it in the trash can. Then he denies it, saying he was attacked first, until his ancestor tells him to look ahead. The spirit shatters the glass with a punch. Youngjin is thrown back and tries to get up, saying the door has been completely destroyed, but the dog asks what he's doing, telling him they need to get out of there fast. The spirit turns around, annoyed. The protagonist looks at the ghost, but the dog tells him to hurry, while Youngjin asks what it's talking about. His ancestor says he must leave and obey its orders. Youngjin starts running, terrified. As he looks back, he remembers the words that it is his ancestor, wondering what that thing was. The dog calls the spirit a bastard, asking how it dares to do this without knowing who it's messing with and releasing its spiritual power. Then it opens its mouth and starts barking cutely. The spirit hits it and throws it far away. The dog starts rolling down the street, then runs after the protagonist. Youngjin turns around and asks what's going on. His dog asks why he's still here, and the protagonist replies that it's been less than 10 seconds since he started running, questioning if it was really the one who saved him yesterday, and if it can really do this, but the dog gets irritated, asking if he's really mocking it right now. But the spirit grabs the protagonist. Youngjin thinks he's been caught again as the monster takes off his jacket, throwing the young man to the ground while it stares at his clothes. His ancestor tells him to get up and hurry, but the spirit puts on the jacket and gets ready. The protagonist notices something strange. The statue gets into a runner's stance, ready to sprint. Youngjin and the dog look back as the monster approaches, until some inscriptions fill the area and the monster is thrown back, realizing it's because of Huisu and her music box. The protagonist is surprised to see her. The girl was playing an ancient Buddhist sutra, and this makes the spirit catch on fire. Youngjin wonders what the hell is going on, complaining that his jacket is now on fire. The girl stares at the monster warily, and the ancestor asks if she's the one who did this. Then the spirit gets up and starts walking, even while on fire. Its face is melting, which frightens Huisu. The girl starts backing away, but the spirit instantly appears, ready to punch her. Youngjin moves from his spot and shoves the girl aside with his shoulder, falling next to her while complaining about the pain. The girl looks back and sees the spirit almost destroying her music box. The ghost takes a deep breath and rips a piece of asphalt from the street, compressing it and preparing to throw it at the protagonists. They are both completely shocked by this. Then Youngjin yells to watch out for the projectiles. Some rocks hit Huisu, and others hit him, causing minor wounds and scratches. But the protagonist is surprised when a cloud of dust erupts. He gets up, crawling, and then calls out to Huisu, complaining about the pain in his arm. But the spirit approaches once again. The protagonist turns his attention to it, surprised by the sound of a lighter next to him. He asks Huisu what she's doing, telling her she needs to run. He keeps shouting for her attention, but the moment is short-lived, as the spirit appears behind her with a car in its hands. Youngjin runs without thinking, remembering his ancestor told them to get out. Then he begs to be able to help, screaming his ancestor's name while facing the schizophrenic bald man. In his final moments, Youngjin thinks he's about to lose his life, but he appears in a completely different place. He looks at the ground in surprise, then turns to look around him, wondering if he had lost his life, but he wants to know what this place is and where everyone is, shouting Li Huisu's name and his ancestors. He quickly appears behind Youngjin, commenting that he seems a bit desperate. The protagonist turns to call out to him, but the young man notices that his ancestor is in his human form. Youngjin asks who he is and what those clothes are, and his ancestor gets frustrated with the question, wanting to know if he doesn't recognize his voice, Calling him descendant, the protagonist then connects the dots and realizes it was the dog. Youngjin calls out to his ancestor. Then he appears behind the young man, confirming it. Holding his hand, he explains that in the beginning there were 12 gods, and he is one of those gods, the dragon god who rules all dragons. His name was Jin, and he creates a sword for Youngjin to use. Jin says he would lend him his power. Outside, Huisu is surprised as the protagonist moves. Youngjin slashes with his sword, cutting everything in half without a second thought. Before hitting the ground, the young man swings his sword again, slicing the monster in half once more. Huisu calls out to her friend as he falls. Youngjin asks what happened, as the car was split in two, but the ancestor interrupts, telling him to get up before the spirit gets him. Youngjin tries to lift his sword, but complains that it's too heavy. He then notices something. The spirit was moving. Suddenly, he's hit by a shoulder tackle. Youngjin falls into a trash can, terrified of the monster. Jin quickly runs towards the spirit's head. Then he tells the protagonist to hurry up. Wanting to know why that coward was running away, Youngjin tells him to turn around. But the spirit throws Jin off its face, leaping towards the young man. The dog shouts for him to use the sword, and Youngjin turns quickly. He makes a horizontal slash that the spirit manages to dodge. It stares coldly at the terrified protagonist. Huisu tells him to hang in there. Youngjin swings his sword from side to side, not even knowing what he's doing, but he accidentally lets it go. The sword starts spinning, cutting several flowers from the trees. As the monster ran, the petals began to fall. It looks up, remembering something, running as if in a marathon. In its past, when it was still golden, it was being forged by a blacksmith in honor of an athlete. They finish molding the head, making it identical to the man being honored. People comment that the statue looked just like him, and that he's the best athlete in Korea, but they want to know why he's bald. Each falling petal was a memory of people taking pictures and having fun with it, until one day, someone was told to strike a pose. You have to take a picture in front of your own statue, they said. That athlete strikes his running pose. A woman comments that her eldest son is also an athlete and a big fan of his. The spirit looks at all this and starts to cry. Sometime later, they used a crane to remove it from the square, leaving it at a school where it always cried on rainy days. As it runs, the spirit remembers all of this, chasing the boy to a faraway place. But suddenly it stops, and Youngjin falls to the ground. Looking back, the young man tries to shield his head, but the statue runs right past him. Youngjin gets up to see the spirit heading towards the parking lot as if it were a finish line. He looks up happily, imagining himself in that scene. In his imagination, people cheer for him as he crosses the finish line. He had even won a gold medal at the Olympics. There was an autograph session for the athlete's autobiography. In his retirement, he takes pictures with people. The spirit glows as it completes its goal and begins to emanate a light. Youngjin, Jin, and Huisu are completely confused by this, wondering what just happened. Jin comments that it achieved its dream and is now at rest. As he'd said before, spirits aren't dangerous as long as you follow their rules. Youngjin asks what the rules are. Jin replies that it depends on the purpose for which it was created, which is why he asked why it was angry. The protagonist asks if this flea bag was messing with him. On the way home, he comments that his rib is broken, but Jin tells him not to worry. He then turns to Huisu, asking if she's okay. The girl crosses her fingers and bows as she thanks him. Youngjin doesn't understand any of this. Huisu slowly raises her head, asking if he might be Youngjin's ancestor. As the day passes elsewhere, the statue was being repaired by some spirits. They fix the damage to the ground, cars, windows, and even the plants. Back at home, the dog says she can see him and must be a shaman. Huisu denies it, explaining she's actually the daughter of one. Jin repeats this, and Huisu says that last time he saved her from Songaxi, but she fainted and couldn't thank him properly. Youngjin asks if she can hear this mutt, and the girl confirms it. The protagonist sighs, thankful he's not crazy. Jin asks how she knows he's an ancestor, and the girl replies that it's because the two of them look alike. Confused, the protagonist asks what's going on, and Huisu asks if he couldn't see it. Jin replies that it's because his beauty is unparalleled, and women get shy around him. Youngjin holds a mirror in front of him, admitting he really is beautiful. Huisu takes out her phone and says it must be like this. She then calls the protagonist over, showing the phone screen with a filter. But after a few seconds, the filter starts working on Jin. Youngjin is startled, and the ancestor asks what happened. The young man says it must be some kind of bug, but it happens with the other filters, and Huisu even asks him to get closer to Youngjin. The protagonist gets annoyed and starts swinging his arm towards the ancestor. As evening falls, Youngjin checks the time. He asks if she's not leaving, since it's already 9 o'clock. The girl turns, saying she can't. A tired Yongjin questions why. Huisu explains that her mother is possessed by a demon powerful enough to summon Songaxi, and if she goes back home now, it will forcefully possess her again and come after the protagonist, just like Songaxi did. Yongjin questions the reason. Jin replies that it's because of his body. Huisu explains that he is a valuable vessel. Then she stands up, grabs a bowl, and summarizes. Jin is surprised as the girl fills the bowl with water. Huisu explains that this represents a normal person, but she throws the water out, saying that represents the protagonist. There will be many monsters trying to enter this empty vessel in the future. She doesn't know how else to say it. There's no other way. What the demons want is the protagonist. Yongjin is stunned. Jin asks if he didn't already know that, because everything was happening because of him. Yongjin remembers blaming the girl earlier for everything, and Jin points out that nothing like this happened before his birthday. Huisu thinks for a few seconds and approaches the dog. She kneels before the ancestor, asking for help. Jin replies that her mother is a shaman, as she said, wanting to know if she served and worshipped demons as gods. The girl replies that her mother didn't know. Her mother wasn't a famous fortune teller, but she was a person who prayed a lot every day. Then one day she came back saying she had received a sacred spirit. After that, her shrine, which had no visitors, became renowned for its fortune telling and was booked solid a year in advance. But in Huisu's eyes, that thing was not a god. When she asked her mother about it, she got a slap. Her mother demanded to know how she dared to doubt. Huisu says that ever since, she's been trying to get rid of the demon attached to her mother but failed. In the end, the demon summoned Songaxi. Jin explains that Songaxi is the spirit of a shaman, which is why common methods don't work. He says he will help, since she is brave and tried to protect Yongjin even at the cost of her own life. He tells the protagonist they are going to help her, surprising Yongjin. Huisu bows several times, thanking them over and over. Since it was late, they decided to sleep. Huisu lies down on a roll of toilet paper, but Yongjin interrupts her. He asks what she's doing, and the girl replies that she's going to sleep. The protagonist asks if she's really going to sleep there, and if she doesn't have any other friends. Huisu says no. Yongjin asks about the girl with the thing on her head who was with her, but Huisu says she was Songaski's friend, not hers. Being an INFJ, she couldn't act friendly, so she tells the protagonist to listen until the end. She asks to sleep at his place, but he refuses. Huisu says she would just sleep, surprising Yongjin. He says she should do it since it's no big deal, and Jin stretches on the bed, asking if they're roommates now. He offers to leave them alone if they want, and Yongjin gets annoyed with the dog. Huisu says she's sorry about that, but asks to borrow some clothes. She said any old piece of clothing would be fine, which annoys Yongjin. As the night goes on, she sleeps on the floor on a futon. The girl starts dreaming about her mother. Huisu had begged for forgiveness, saying she was wrong, but her mother closed the door with a malevolent smile, crying out for her mother while banging on the door, begging to get out of there with all her might. She was scared until she noticed something in the darkness. Songaski materializes, saying hello to Huisu. She asks if she could come in. Jin senses the girl's fear in her nightmares. She was crying but starts to breathe softly. The dog had sat down beside her, so the night passes, and in Huisu's mother's temple, some candles are lit as the woman pounds rice. She stares at it coldly with a grim expression. Then she slams the table, saying that Li Huisu is clueless. She wants to know where she is because when she returns, she'll be locked up. The next day, the protagonist stirs in his bed. He slowly wakes up and checks the time on his phone. Yongjin gets up and walks to the bathroom. He opens the door while yawning, but comes face to face with Huisu. The protagonist quickly closes it. The girl wishes Yongjin a good morning, and Jin remarks that the day has started off well. Later, they continue their day, and Yongjin ties up the trash. Huisu asks where he's going, and the young man explains there's no food in the fridge. The dog is complaining about breakfast, and since the girl is a guest, Jin tells him to eat well before he goes and to make at least 7 meat dishes. Huisu says that if he's going shopping, she can go with him, and the boy just accepts. They go outside and put the trash next to the house. The girl comments that he's a real adult, but the protagonist tries to say that, in fact, he then falls silent, looking at the girl beside him. He remembers telling her that all of this was her fault. Then he starts to feel guilty and ashamed about it. Yongjin stops for a few seconds behind the girl and then gets her attention. He starts to speak but can't, thanks to his embarrassment. He crouches down and says he's very sorry. The girl asks what for, and Yongjin replies that it was for saying all that. It was because of him, and he's very sorry. Besides, she helped, and he's grateful for it, even though it wasn't her business. Huisu says he really is an adult. The protagonist is startled, and the girl asks if that bothers him, because it's actually okay. Even if it wasn't her intention, she made things seem harder, and he's still helping even though it's not his problem. Youngjin replies that he'll do his best, thinking it was his ancestor who helped her. In a market, he starts looking at some lemon candy. He asks why he's buying it, and Huisu says it's for him to eat when his blood sugar is low. She wants to know if he needs anything else. Youngjin replies that he can't buy all of this because he doesn't have the money. The girl says she'll pay and that he shouldn't worry, telling him to grab whatever he wants. The protagonist asks why. Huisu replies that she's rich and even has a black card, but Youngjin says it's still too much. Outside the market, he comments that it's the first time he's ever bought so much food. The girl asks if he knows how to cook, but Youngjin says no, because it might turn out bad. She says that even she couldn't make something taste bad with all these ingredients. Then the protagonist spots a friend of his walking nearby. The guy says she's not coming until he notices the two of them. He says it's Kwon Youngjin's girlfriend. Huisu smiles and talks to him. Elsewhere, Youngjin wonders why Jaeol is there. Besides, he had left Huisu, but she would come alone. On his phone, Jaeol sends a message to their group of friends. He tells them he saw Youngjin's girlfriend and even talked to her. The protagonist keeps walking as a shadow pursues him. Just as it's about to touch him, a soccer ball hits Youngjin in the head. The protagonist turns around angrily, yelling that he's a piece of shit. But it was a short boy with dark circles under his eyes. Youngjin asks if he threw that, but the boy just tells him to be careful. The protagonist says he's not the one who needs to be careful. Some little kids comment that it was dangerous and that their older brother shouldn't get mad. Then they walk away, saying goodbye and telling their hyung to be careful. The protagonist thinks they're annoying kids, while the boy with the dark circles stares at him. Youngjin wonders what the hell that was. Back at the market, Huisu notices the protagonist has left. She looks at her phone as a shadow lurks nearby. Back at home, Jin is sleeping on the protagonist's bed. Hearing the doorbell, he comments that he's back, but he notices that he came alone and asks where Huisu is. Youngjin replies that the girl will be here shortly, but 15 minutes pass, and he tries to call her. However, Huisu doesn't answer the phone. Youngjin wonders what happened, then quickly opens the door. He walks down the street until he turns in another direction, coming face to face with the girl standing there. Youngjin runs towards her, and Huisu just calls his name. She asks where he's been, and Youngjin apologizes. He thought it would be awkward to run into Jaeol, and she asks who that is. Youngjin replies that it was his friend with the glasses. Huisu asks if he was the mean boy, but the protagonist says he's not like that. Then he notices something. The girl was smiling without a soul. Her shirt also had strange writing on it, and Youngjin quickly realizes. He approaches and asks who she is, but the girl's face begins to fragment, and an old man emerges from within. He replies that he is grandfather Mangtai, startling the protagonist. Jin runs, calling for his descendant, but he had already disappeared. The dog wonders how he lost him. He's searching around when a voice says that this body suits him well. Jin lifts his head and turns around as the young man questions what it's like to live like a dog. The dog refers to the boy as Your Excellency. That boy says it's been a long time since he last saw Jin. Then the dog notices his body. He asks what happened in this case. The boy gives an annoyed smile and asks if he really doesn't know, or if he's just messing with him. Jin is a bit confused, and the boy asks how he broke the seal. The dog replies that he doesn't know, but he wonders if maybe one of his kind rebelled against them and broke it, or perhaps the celestial god did. However, the boy pulls out a fan, throwing it at the dog. Piercing gusts of wind attack Jin, turning to ice afterward. He takes his dragon god form to avoid the blow. It only hits a part of his shoulder. The boy says he can break him and seal him once more, especially now when he alone is enough to defeat him. Jin asks if he can ask one thing. He transforms back into a dog and wants to know if he was the one who messed with his body. The boy is silent for a few seconds, but then smiles. He taps the fan in his hand, shattering the ice. He puts the weapon away and asks why he doesn't ask the celestial god. Thinking like that is a new one for him too. Jin asks why he sealed him, and if it was because he was afraid of him. But the boy replies that he's an idiot, and the dog questions this. He says he's leaving after saying what he wanted and will let it slide this time. However, this wasn't the time for that. Remembering what had happened, those children start calling for the little dog, approaching quickly. They ask if he's looking for the brother in black clothes with messy hair, because they can find him. In a room full of seals, someone sharpens their knife, humming about a good child, and thus waking Youngjin. Mangtai adds that he should have a rice cake. Youngjin wonders what happened and where he is. Mangtai continues singing that the tiger will get the child because she was naughty and would be taken far away. The protagonist gets scared and starts trying to escape, until someone calls his name. Yongjin turns around and finds Huisu crying her eyes out. The protagonist says she's been caught too, but Grandpa Mangtae throws salt on both of them, singing about how he'd deal with them. Huisu says he's going to punish them like this and that she's heard this song 4 times. Then Yongjin notices there's salt inside the wooden box he's trapped in. He falls flat on his face, muttering about his clothes. He asks if she can see it, and Huisu says no because she won't look either. Suddenly, the old man stops sharpening his tool and stands up, walking toward the 2 kids, but the noise stops, and the 2 of them calm down. Yongjin wonders if he's left and looks to the side, only to have Mangtae say that he's apparently awake, and that he's a bad kid for it. Yongjin asks why he's a naughty kid. Huisu agrees, saying they're good kids. She says the old man told them he'd give a rice cake to good kids, and he should give it to them now. But the old man asks how they're going to prove they're good kids. Yongjin asks how he's going to prove they're bad kids. Mangtae ignores him and says he must prove whether he is obedient or disobedient. The protagonist replies that he doesn't have parents to begin with, which surprises the old man. He says it's outrageous that he dared to deny his own parents. In that case, they'll face a severe punishment. Huisu adds that he really doesn't have parents. Mangtae replies that she'll face the same punishment too, and the boy remarks that it seems to be the only option. The old man continues, saying that denying your parents is no different from doing them a great evil, and that it's a terrible act, but the protagonist replies that they've already passed away. The old man stops and points at Huisu, saying, she must be very disobedient then, because her mother prayed to him every night, asking him to take her away, because she's a naughty child. Huisu realizes it's because of her mother. A noise starts up, getting Mangtae's attention. He tells the 2 to wait there in silence, and then leaves. The 2 get up and start looking around. The girl remarks that this is his sanctuary. Yongjin says they're in real trouble now, and the girl asks why, since they plan to come here anyway. The protagonist asks what they can do on their own, and the girl replies that he can use the sword. She asks if it doesn't appear when he moves his hand, like last time, so they decide to leave. Yongjin says if they go through the front door, they'll run into the old man, but Huisu points to a back door. They start walking, and the protagonist enters a Buddhist temple. He asks what all of this is as the girl calls to her friend. She asks if he wants to at least wear those clothes since it's hard to walk like this. They both change clothes quickly, giving each other some privacy, keeping their distance from one another. Yongjin finishes getting dressed and asks where his clothes are, saying he can't leave wearing this. Huisu says she'll pay for the taxi. If they go out that way, they'll be in the backyard. Then the protagonist notices something in the window. He says someone is there, and the girl looks too. The door opens quickly, and the 2 of them hide in a wooden box. Outside, the entire sanctuary was silent. Yongjin asks why everything is so quiet, but he opens the door and comes face to face with Huisu's mother staring at him. He quickly shuts it and says he was terrified. The mother opens their door, revealing where the 2 were hiding. Huisu calls out to her mother, but the woman grabs her daughter forcefully and drags her outside. She throws her on the ground, saying she should have let her know she was coming. Besides, her mother was very worried about her. Then she looks coldly at the box, asking if she brought a friend. Yongjin gets out and says he has urgent business at home, so he needs to go. He says he'll visit her next time and mentions he doesn't know the way, so Huisu should show him the way out. The mother smiles, and Yongjin starts walking with her. The woman whistles, scaring the protagonist. She says that when you see your friend's parents, you should greet them first. Yongjin gets scared and looks down to see a hand grabbing his leg, with several more doing the same thing. The mother says it's rude. She asks if he wasn't taught any manners at home as those hands begin to touch Yongjin, but he doesn't need to visit again, since they're never leaving this place. The hands trap both of them, but Mangtae asks who the hell she is. The shaman says that since the old geezer is done, he can leave. Mangtae looks at the children being trapped and closes his eyes. He says he understands, since that's how it is. Yongjin wonders if they're going to fight. The old man says they are good children, but she is a terrible mother. Bad parents are also severely punished, but the mother asks what the old geezer is thinking. He should know why he's trapped here. Then she raises her index finger, and a flask begins to trap old Mangtae. He moves his tool, but is stopped before he can do anything. Mangtae asks how she dares to challenge him, until he's completely contained and the shaman traps him. She moves her index finger down, storing him in a jar. She snaps her fingers and the jar is sealed. Then she remarks that an old man who can't even recognize his master is useless as a servant. Then she turns to the 2 of them, asking if the children have finished eating. Those spirits release the 2, and Yongjin loses all his strength. He falls to the ground, asking what's happening. The mother asks if they weren't planning on leaving. The protagonist thinks he can't move a muscle in his body, and Huisu calls out to the boy, saying those beings must have done something. But the shaman pushes Youngjin's shoulder with her foot, saying that now they must check this. Huisu calls for her mother, begging her to please stop, but the spirit replies that she knows she isn't her mother and to stop this nonsense before she puts her in a jar too. Now she should shut up and stay seated. She approaches the protagonist, saying so it was true, until she's interrupted by a song about the shaman, asking if she was there. The mother gives him a sidelong glance. They are locked in a different room. Youngjin remarks that they're here again. He says her mother is very scary, and Huisu replies that it wasn't her mother. Besides, her mom was super sweet and polite. She would never say any of those things. Huisu looks a little fearful, remembering her mother being transformed. Then she calls Youngjin's name. She apologizes for putting him in danger because of her, and Youngjin says it sounds like a farewell speech. The girl continues, saying he must think she's selfish and annoying, but the protagonist says no, even though things are weird right now. Huisu is very sorry, and Youngjin tells her not to cry and to stop apologizing. She was making it sound like it was all over for them. The girl apologizes for keeping asking for help even though he's scared too, but she can't do anything, and she didn't think her mother would do this. She saw how weakened her mother's body was. The evil spirit said she wouldn't have much time. Youngjin asks why she didn't say this sooner. The girl replies that she didn't want to burden him, and the protagonist says she already has. Huisu says this was before she was possessed by the Songakshi, and if it's too late, she might lose her mother. Youngjin calls the girl and tells her not to talk like that or apologize. He asks if there's a specific condition for swapping bodies. If the body gets too weak, it can just swap, but it didn't do that. It only sent that Songakshi. Normal people's bodies can't withstand it, so they need a vessel that can contain a god. That's what they said. Huisu says she understands, so it's trying to get into his body. It could be because his bloodline is connected to the gods, and his family has been shamans for generations. The protagonist remarks that it's hard to even move his fingers to escape, but he notices something different. He can close his hand. Then he says he's getting his strength back, and the girl should try to move too. Huisu says she still can't, but the protagonist sits up on the floor. He tells her to hold his shoulder, and the girl does so. Youngjin moves back and forth 3 times, but he only manages to move a little, and he comments that she always disappoints him. She's gotten her strength back, so she should stop being lazy and get up. Jin appears behind them, wondering if this was some kind of sleeping arrangement. The girl calls for the ancestor as she walks out the door. Behind him, the children were holding Youngjin's sword, waving hello to their big brother. A child moves the sword up and down, saying they should go. Then, he hurls it towards the protagonist. Youngjin moves to catch his sword, but its weight slams it to the ground. He groans in exhaustion as the children ask what happened, unable to keep up. He wonders what this place is, while the protagonist questions how the child could throw something so heavy. A spirit calls out to Huisu, asking if this is a shaman's work and if she needs help getting up. Huisu then stands up, her expression matching the child's. The spirits comment that this place must be a sanctuary. Youngjin says the children shouldn't go this way. Then Huisu walks beside them and says she's big too, and a spirit says that Boksuni has become the leader. The protagonist wonders what's happening and if Huisu is okay, but Jin replies that they are child spirits. The girl can't control her own body, so they walk together and move for her. Youngjin says he doesn't quite understand, but asks if his ancestor knows them. Jin replies that they were spirits from the sky, so there's no need to be on guard. The protagonist thinks that they aren't human after all, wondering if they couldn't make less noise. The shaman hands a jar to her client and tells her to place it by her bed when she goes to sleep. She must never look inside, and the woman thanks the shaman for it, with several spirits on her shoulder. The shaman opens her fan and blows a kind of air. That spirit on the woman's shoulder vanishes. She comments that she feels lighter near the shaman and better after talking to her. The shaman replies that she was suppressing her energy, so she shouldn't get too comfortable. If this doesn't work, they'll perform a ritual. The woman asks how much it will cost, and the shaman tells her to just take it, because she was trying to help her and would never charge for it, which excites the woman. The shaman tells her to leave a 10,000 won offering, and the follower thanks her, but the shaman thinks that she'll need a full ritual anyway, warning her that the next time she comes, she won't be here. In fact, there will be a boy sitting here, and from now on she can talk to him, as she had explained. The woman asks about the shaman, and she replies that she'll be wandering the mountains praying for a while. He is young but has strong spiritual power, and the woman replies that there can't be anyone more powerful than the shaman. That shaman tells her to just imagine him as her, because he serves the same god. A few knocks are heard on the adjacent door. The woman asks if someone is there. The shaman denies it, moving her coffee, saying there's a cat making a mess, and maybe a rat got in. One spirit knocks something over, and another asks why it's knocking things down and if they can't put them back. Boksuni approaches a vase, asking what it is and what a jar is doing in a sanctuary, but Jin turns, shouting for her not to touch it. Another spirit tells Boksuni to come back, but the vase slips from her hand. It falls to the ground, causing an explosion of energy. The spirit leaves Huisu's body. She calls out for her big sister who was on the floor. Huisu asks what happened as Yongjin charges forward, sword in hand, telling her to get out of his way. Looking back, Huisu notices there was a creature. She turns in fear, but the protagonist swings his sword, defeating the spirit with a single throw. The sword is embedded in the wall, and the spirits begin to celebrate the victory. Yongjin was tired from carrying that weight. The shaman appears in the room and says there were many intruders crawling around. She asks if Kwan Yongjin has recovered yet. Then she laughs with delight, as a body to house a god was practically perfect. He should be proud of it, even if he is a fool. The protagonist is surprised as the shaman looks back, whistling for her spirits to move over. One of the spirits asks if she's trying to mess with the children again, because it won't let that happen, blocking the command. The shaman laughs, and the spirit says she did something very bad. It's always the shamans with weak spiritual power who do things like this, questioning the fate of the other children. The shaman makes a disdainful expression, but that woman calls out to her, questioning what that was and turning in fear, looking at the protagonist next. The pot in her hands begins to crack, and the spirit lunges toward Yongjin, saying that his body would be its, but it's neutralized immediately after. The shaman asks how he dares to do that and questions why it would be his, since it's actually her property. That energy begins to dissipate. The shaman says that one seemed to be gone, until an incantation begins to be recited by the united children. The woman says they are up to all sorts of things, but do they really think something like this can stop her? She takes out one of her hairpins and activates her power with a gesture. Her being is resentment itself. Manifested from inner oblivion, it forms an icy script on the floor. The creature says that they, young companions, were born in a field of flowers. She is not a being they can contain so easily. In the resentment and vengeance that curses this world, that was what she was, making everyone there feel the power of the spell. The shaman walks, saying it was no use believing in a god anyway. The child had asked about the fate of the others. The shaman gives a sinister laugh, revealing the terrible truth about her actions. Her spell begins to expand and hit the children there. The child's spirits start screaming for them to look. The spirits she used were merging into a monster, becoming something terrifying. The shaman keeps whistling to control the monster. It approaches Boksuni next. Another child comments that they are spirits of the unborn who become evil spirits. They can't become flowers, nor child spirits, nor see their parents again. Boksuni cries, saying it breaks her little heart. Then she yells for them to pull themselves together, as they need to visit their mothers. The shaman says it was quite a show and starts to draw more energy. The spirits begin to attack Boksuni, and her brother questions if she thinks she'll get away with all this, because she will be defeated quickly when his big brother gets there. The shaman laughs, telling him to call him then, because whoever comes, she'll stop them just the same. That spirit asks how she dares, before its vision fades completely. The shaman continues walking toward the protagonist, and says that now the distractions are gone, questioning if she should continue where she left off. With this, she will become something greater than a god. Touching the protagonist's forehead, but a knife flies in and stops her touch, hitting the temple wall and surprising the shaman. Jin says she was funny, and asks how a mere shaman dares to speak of the gods so irreverently. The shaman wonders how he was resisting this. Then she says she understood, and he was no ordinary opponent. Jin says she must have lost her divine powers, since she can't even see him. The shaman asks who he was. Then the ancestor continues to condense his energy to materialize, reaching his human form and warning that he is a real god. Everyone in the room is surprised by Jin's power. Energy begins to fill the place and illuminates the faces of Yongjin and Huisu. The shaman asks if he was a god, and Jin questions if she had finally seen him. The shaman breaks into a smile and starts to laugh out loud, saying he was a cute thing and should stay out of this if he doesn't want to be defeated. Seeing his clothes, he must be a low-ranking noble lord. Yongjin wonders why he's just standing there, but Jin looks at the protagonist at that moment. The shaman asks where he is looking. He shouldn't try any funny business, and Jin replies that he was just contemplating what to do, seeing as he possesses a poor human body. Yongjin thinks he can't be asking him to do something in a situation like this. The shaman thinks this was strange, but she understood. If he was a god, a mere shamanic ritual should be easy for him to stop, so she casts a spell. Yongjin calls for his ancestor as the spell sends his companion flying. The shaman asks what that was, and was he even a god? She thought he was nothing but a useless vessel. It would be easy for a god to take this body and obliterate him, so she assumes a god wouldn't even be in the body of a mutt like him in the first place. She questions how he dares to pretend to be a god. Then she calls out to Yongjin, asking if these scoundrels are all he's got, because she thinks the time has finally come to take his body. He must do it, and she'll show mercy by sparing his friends' lives. Otherwise, all that awaits them is a miserable farewell. However, she assumes he actually has no choice. Yongjin asks why not, since if he bit his tongue, he'd lose his life right there. But the spirit tells him to do it, because she will take his body before he takes his last breath, and now she will finally become a goddess. But Huisu tells her to stop. The spirit looks to the side, the girl's hand gripping her dress. Huisu begs her to stop and to get out of her mother's body. She's crying, but holds on thanks to her courage. The spirit looks at her coldly and clenches her fists. The shaman then kicks her away. Yongjin is stunned as the woman approaches Huisu. She asks if she knows why her life has been spared until now. It was only because she was useful. But seeing as she's no longer useful now, she should just take her life, since she'll be sending her mother there soon too. Yongjin tries to move to save his friend. Huisu apologizes to the protagonist. The protagonist is frozen as the girl closes her eyes. He screams for his friend as the spirit's power moves to its hand. In the past, Huisu calls out to her mother, who handed her a bracelet made of peach seeds. Lots of kids wear bracelets these days, she says, asking her to wear this one. But Huisu says it's big and not cute at all, even calling it weird. Her mother says it will keep the spirits away. Huisu replies that she's starting with that talk again, and she doesn't want it. The other kids already make fun of her enough for being a shaman's daughter if they see her with this, so she needs to stop putting talismans in her bag. The other day, one fell on the classroom floor when she grabbed a book. Her mother says she was just worried, and Huisu asks what she'll do if she gets bullied. The other parents don't do weird things, and their kids are fine, so she asks why she has to do this, since it's something she hates. Her mother then asks, how about this talisman? She opens her arms as Huisu says she doesn't want any. The woman says she's a mother talisman. Wherever you are, whenever you need me, just call for your mommy, because I'll come running to hug you. That's how much power I have. Mommy will protect Huisu no matter what. The spell is broken, and the shaman starts to cry. Huisu realizes this as her mother tells her to run now. Yongjin and Huisu notice it. The shaman stands up, and Huisu calls for her mother. Her mother grabs the knife from the wall, and Huisu asks what she's doing. In denial about what she's doing with the knife as she points it at herself, she screams for her mother to stop. The shaman calls out to her daughter, saying she's so sorry for everything, and plunges the knife in. Yongjin and Jin are also shocked by the scene. The girl trembles in fear at the sight. Blood begins to splatter on the floor from the shaman's body. Huisu breaks free from the spell, calling out for her mother. The woman then falls to the ground. Huisu turns her mother over, trying to call to her, asking why she did it, pleading for her mother to look at her. The protagonist remembers the girl asking for his help too, with the scene of her begging for her mother right in front of him now. All of these events were happening because of Yongjin. This was all his fault. With these spirits wanting him, everything was his fault. He should never have been born, because he's the reason he lost his parents. He's no different from the evil spirit on the day of the accident. That scene of his parents right after. The shaman's sword comes out of the wall. The spirit begins to leave Huisu's mother's body, saying that this crazy woman dared to do this to its vessel. The girl cries out, screaming at the spirit. The demon summons a weapon, saying they were all scoundrels, so it's going to take the daughter's life too. However, its arm is severed in a split second it can't even perceive. The materialized blade goes flying and clatters to the floor, along with its arm, as the spirit asks what that was. It turns fearfully toward the protagonist. Yongjin was wielding his shaman's blade, shrouded in draconic energy, but this time, his eyes were black and red. Jin shakes his head and wonders if it will work. The spirit questions what the hell this is and if everyone has gone insane, demanding to know how he dares. But the protagonist vanishes into the clouds, appearing behind it with his blade. A slash is made, and the spirit narrowly dodges. It retreats in fear as its bead necklace is shattered, wondering how that just happened and how he broke free from its spell. How could a mere human have so much power? It then tries to breathe to summon its spirits. The children are freed by this and ask if Boksuni is okay. She replies that she is, but more importantly, they need to help Huisu's mother. The spirits begin to reconstruct the demon's arm, forming a monstrous limb as Yongjin leaps, moving with the sword. The demon materializes a staff, calling him a brat. It then tries to match Yongjin's power, but the monster was being pushed back by the immense draconic power emanating from him. Yongjin keeps striking back, attacking without stopping, not even giving it a chance to breathe. Then he makes a perfect cut, splitting the demon's weapon in half. Yongjin quickly moves his sword to change his stance, slamming it into the ground and shattering the monstrous arm it had rebuilt. The demon screams in pain, terrified of his absolute power. Yongjin just moves his sword again, severing the arm from the body. The demon retreats and questions what he is, because earlier, a weak spell was enough to make him spit blood. It knew he was something special, but he is nothing more than a mere mortal. Yongjin just smirks, showing how weak the demon was. The child spirits stop healing Huisu's mother. Yongjin moves his sword again and runs toward the demon. It grows fearful of his advance and looks to its side. Seeing a jar with a spirit, it then throws it at him. The protagonist moves his sword and cuts the jar in half without a second thought. Some insects start to emerge and the demon says he's an idiot. A spirit manifests and hurls Yongjin away. The protagonist just drives his sword into the ground to stop himself, taking no damage. He now stands before a frightening insect. The demon says that this creature is not just any demon. It was made from malicious curses, so it doubts he can get rid of it easily. The children scream that it's grotesque and wonder what it is. Huisu looks at the protagonist with fear. The demon thinks that attack was stronger than it expected, and that it needs to return to a human body. So it will use the body of that woman who came to the temple. Besides, it doubts he would attack a fellow human without hesitation. The demon begins to transfer its consciousness to the woman, but the demon made of curses has half its body thrown against the wall. The demon looks back, seeing that with just one move, Yongjin split its creature in half. The protagonist maintains his cold gaze looking at it, but the demon starts to laugh, saying he's a fool for that. Since it won't die even if he cuts off its head, it will simply grow back. It orders them to make sure this child stays alive and just tie him up. To become a god, it needs that human body, but Yongjin's laughter overpowers it, along with the creature's agonized screams that fill the place. The demon turns to see its fellow creature being devoured by the dragon's energy. Yongjin stood still as that demon was destroyed. The main demon is incredulous, because the protagonist was smiling. It falls to the ground, backing away, because he just devoured that demon. Jin tries to approach the protagonist, but Yongjin just turns and raises his sword high, then slams it into the ground in front of him. The dog gets the message, and the protagonist turns to finish the job. Yongjin continues to approach the demon. The spirit just wonders what he is, because he is not human. There's something very wrong here. She must flee if she wants to survive, and she runs. She manages to escape the temple using her supernatural strength, but the protagonist moves in quickly and pins her to the ground. The dust begins to settle, and the entity sighs, but she's startled to see Yongjin above her, his sword raised. She tries to get up, denying the situation, but the protagonist shoves her back down. The entity becomes afraid, showing signs of great distress, asking how he dares to do this. She remembers her past, when she was about to be engulfed in flames. She screams that she was supposed to become a goddess even after all that. In the past, in a quiet village, there were several sacks of rice, potatoes, and coins. Many citizens were praying at the temple. As the shaman danced for the gods, she suddenly stops, announcing that the spirits are very pleased and should send rain tomorrow. However, the next day, the sun was shining brightly. She clenches her clothes, enraged, wondering why it wasn't raining, even after she had announced it. So, she kicks her ritual tools, angrily rejecting everything that humiliates her like this. She hasn't felt anything these days, and still needs to get a prophecy right, wondering why, and if the gods even truly exist. But, from the very beginning, this must have been her own abilities. She hears some noises and turns around, seeing villagers who witnessed the scene at the temple. They flee immediately, which enrages the shaman. A man comments that the priestess's powers seem to be gone because she angered the gods. They say she made a scene, breaking things on the altar, and that she was a fraud from the start. The shaman calls out to him, warning that a plague will soon fall upon his house, so he must offer a sack of rice to Joang to spare him this calamity. The man questions her about the rice, asking if it just ended up at her house, and how she dares to deceive him in broad daylight. His companion asks him not to be like that, as she has prayed for the village, but the other man insists she's a fraud, and it's all an act. This woman was given a house for being blessed, yet she dares to repay them with curses. He doesn't want to see her around anymore. The shaman says he dares to mock the shaman who conveys the will of the gods, questioning if he doesn't fear the heavens. The man asks what the will of the gods is, since the whole village knows about her lies. But the shaman says he will fall ill soon. A few days later, the villagers say it was true. It must have been a punishment from the heavens for the disrespect shown to the priestess. The shaman had warned him that a sickness would fall upon his house. And she was right. His wife and children had also fallen ill. So they called the priestess, and after she performed a ritual, they were all cured. The Park family next door has already made preparations for a Samshin ritual with her. Another woman comments that their son was taken by the tiger, and they must be suffering, trying to have another child. From sickness to the state of negotiations, it was unsettling. They must please the priestess for more services, as everything was unnerving. The tiger has taken many babies, and she mustn't lose sight of her son, as Dongi has been wandering at night. The shaman keeps walking through the days, despite having done all this. That mother searches for Dongi at night, asking where he was. People comment that he seemed to have disappeared, and that they had warned her not to lose sight of him. He's probably just playing somewhere, and children always come back when they're hungry. But inside the shaman's house, the child was on the floor. A boy is very hungry, writhing on the ground. The shaman calls out to Suni, showing him food in a pot, questioning if he doesn't want to eat it. The child's eyes light up and he tries to reach for the food. The shaman approaches the boy with a dark look. Soon after, she seals something inside the pot. A child watches all of this from a distance, terrified. Back in her house, the shaman calls for Dongi, asking if he went out because children who go out at night are taken by the tiger. Inside a sand pot, the boy hides in fear. The next day, the shaman was dancing in the street. Dongi's mother was praying nearby until she saw the boy grab her clothes. She hugs her son, crying with happiness. But Dongi points out that the shaman was the one who captured him. All the villagers are shocked to hear the child say such a thing. And so, the shaman's entire facade begins to crumble. They enter her house with torches and are horrified. Inside the bamboo pots were the belongings of the missing children. The parents begin to cry in despair, screaming for her to bring their children back, calling her a wicked creature. But the shaman tells them not to make her laugh, because they all wanted this. They all asked for their selfish wishes to be granted, regardless of the price. It was their greed that offered up the children. They are terrible fools for it. The villagers shout that she is the wicked woman and that the heavens will surely judge her. The shaman tells them not to be foolish. If such things existed, their children would never have met this fate. A villager grabs a torch and throws it at the shaman. The fire spreads through the house surrounding her. She says that gods don't exist, but she does. That being that existed, with a dark expression on her face. With her departure, she vows to become a deity, one that curses them, and whose goal is to become a goddess. Back in the present, the spell circle begins to surround the two of them. Inside the mansion, everyone notices that the pots were moving. They then shatter, releasing dozens of spirits toward the fight. The spirits become arms for the shaman, and she says that the time for revenge has come, lunging at the protagonist, but he simply dodges the attack by jumping. He plants his foot on the ground and runs from the other blasts. The shaman says that every one of them would be defeated by her hands, creating a sphere of dark energy to hurl at the protagonist. The children shout for Youngjin to be careful, but Suni tells them to wait a second, because compared to the entity, Youngjin doesn't even seem to be taking it seriously. Holding the sphere with ease, he pulls his sword from the ground and charges at the creature, appearing behind her with his weapon, delivering a swift strike that neutralizes the creature's arm. The entity falls to the ground, trying to regenerate. Then, it launches its final attack in an attempt to defeat the protagonist. The energy hits the protagonist, but he jumps to dodge it, soaring high with his sword. That dragon energy begins to appear, creating a complete dragon behind the protagonist, surprising everyone. Jin thinks that was incredibly powerful, wondering what that boy is. Jin charges at the creature once more, but an open fan sends a wind forward, stopping them both with a frosty wind that repels them. The creature begins to be undone by that energy, and Youngjin is thrown far away. Then, the fan closes, with the protagonist on the ground. He's a bit confused by it all. The spirit says that all currents must be dispersed, and sends more clouds. Youngjin returns to his normal form, and the spirit uses telos. His sword is lost, and the young man is thrown back. Ya, the god of the earthly branches, was now there. He looks coldly ahead as the spirits approach, saying their big brother has arrived. They tell him there were some scary beings, and a human was defeated. The shaman entity keeps moving and scares the children, who ask what it is and what it means, because this was the power of the gods, and she wants to know how he has it. Ja replies that it's because he is a god, a divinity of the earthly branches, the Lord of the heavens. The shaman asks about this, wanting to know if he is a real god. The children are frightened, and the shaman cries, moving closer. Then, she grabs his clothes, asking why. Why were her prayers ignored? Why didn't he visit her even once? She searched for him desperately, but he never appeared. If he had helped back then, she wouldn't have ended up like this. She asks how he could let her lose her life and ignore a human who prayed. Ja pulls away, asking what prayers she's talking about. Judging by the looks of it, it's clear they were all selfish requests. No god would listen to prayers like those. The spirits of the children begin to emerge from the entity's arm. Ja says she was blinded by greed, lost her way as a shaman, and gave in to the 10 evils, questioning what there is to feel wronged about. She couldn't see the unhappy spirits who lost their lives because of her. The woman says it happened because the humans demanded it, but Ja cuts her off firmly. Even if her body is destroyed and burned for all eternity, the suffering will be nothing compared to theirs. She must go to hell for every item she stole from those babies. For every human who suffered because of her, karma would ensure she paid for every one of her transgressions. And so, he opens his fan. Using the earthly branch magic of Mayo, a black sphere begins to overpower and trap the demon, turning the sun in the sky into a black moon. The demon begs him, please don't do this. It can't lose its life like this. He must have mercy. Just this once, he should spare it. As the black moon approaches, Ja finishes it off using Talos. Not even dust from that monster remains. The spirits comment that it was cool, and Ja asks what happened to the human. Boksuni says she was hit by a dagger. Ja approaches the temple, facing Huisu and her mother. The girl stops crying as the deity gets closer. As a reaction, she protects her mother's body, but Ja simply says that fortunately she's still breathing. He then sighs and opens his fan once more to use the divine magic of the earthly branch, this time using the Mai of the flowering meadow, creating a flower above the two of them. That was the flower of life, which begins to touch the shaman. Her wounds start to regenerate, and her life begins to flourish again. The children say it's a beautiful power. Finally, Ja closes the fan with Telos, and the woman is healed. Huisu calls out to her mother, and the deity says she shouldn't worry, as she was just sleeping. The girl touches her mother's face, who just smiles. She starts to cry, and the spirits say it's a relief. As you can see, Ja is a lord of the heavens and the first god among the 12 deities of the first branches. Huisu opens her eyes and thanks him for everything. Ja coughs a little from using his powers, bleeding onto his clothes. Then he says that as a token of gratitude, he wants to ask for a favor. Opening his fan once more and swinging it to the side, all the spirits begin to gather there with the fluid mirror. They cease to be vengeful beings and return to normal as Ja closes his fan. The girl is surprised by this. Ja says that as soon as the shaman wakes up, she must perform a ritual to send away the spirits of those who departed with the children's fingers. He walks outside and looks toward Yongjin, seeing Jin admiring his ancestor trapped in the clouds. A smile forms on his face, and he calls out to the dog, telling it to get out of his way now. He moves his fan quickly and smacks the protagonist on the head. Yongjin slowly begins to regain consciousness, coming face to face with the boy. He asks what happened as he looks at the clouds beside them, wanting to know what that was. Then, he's repelled and thrown to the ground. Yongjin quickly moves to cover his legs, but he notices that everything around him is destroyed. He wonders what the hell happened and where he is, remembering Huisu's mother falling and her crying. Then he turns to see his friend, who was worriedly beside him. She holds the protagonist's face, asking if he's okay. Yongjin breaks free, saying he is, but wants to know about her, and the girl starts to cry. She says it's a relief and that she's so sorry because it was her fault. The protagonist asks if her mother is okay. Huisu confirms that she is, as Lord Ja and the children had helped, and her wounds were healed. The protagonist is confused since he doesn't remember anything. Jin approaches, asking if he lost consciousness, and Yongjin calls out to his ancestor, wanting to know what exactly had happened. The dog says he'll explain on the way home. Ja jokes that he can't wait to see how he'll explain this. Everyone is a bit confused, and Huisu says he is Lord Ja, a lord of the heavens. Ja continues to stare at the protagonist, who just complains about the soccer ball while the deity spits. The children approach Ja, asking if he's alright. The god opens his fan and says they should leave. They disappear as if by magic. Huisu comments that the heavens were literally protecting Yongjin, but the protagonist tries to explain about the ball. He then stops his explanation, looking surprised. Huisu is confused until she hears her name. Her mother was standing, waiting for her daughter with a smile on her face. The girl runs to hug her mother. Yongjin smiles as he watches the scene. Mangtae was peeking from the gate and cries at the reunion. He leaves a basket on the ground. He says that a tiger will take away children who cry, but good children get a rice cake, and so he leaves several on the ground. Later at home, a message informs them that the ordered items were delivered to the protagonist's door 8 hours ago. Yang Jin says that sucks because everything is thawed. Jin asks if he's the village magistrate in charge of the food supply. The protagonist replies that Huisu bought all of it, and it's just delivery. Jin gets annoyed at being called a moron. The protagonist stands up and types in his door code. Jin says that although he has let many things slide before, that's no way to address an ancestor. Yang Jin tells him to stop acting like that if he wants to eat today. The dog complains that he's insolent, and the protagonist tells him to just come in so he can close the door. Then, he puts the sword away inside the house. Jin tells him to quickly prepare his dinner because he's beyond starving. Yang Jin notices messages from Huisu saying she's sorry, and that if he got into trouble, she'd be the first to help him. The protagonist quickly types a message and puts his phone in his pocket. Huisu gets the notification and is surprised. A smile spreads across her face when she sees the protagonist telling her not to apologize anymore. Yang Jin says that while he was unconscious, the kid from before got rid of that two-headed monster and healed Huisu's mother too. Jin confirms this, and the protagonist says he really missed everything. So, Ja must be an ancestral spirit or something, just like him. But Jin replies that he is not his ancestor, then swallows his food. The protagonist asks why his own ancestor didn't do anything, since he could have taken care of everything. But the dog drops the meat and clarifies. He says it's not that he chose not to do anything, but there was nothing he could do. He had no choice. The protagonist asks if the sword he carries around is just for show, and Jin replies that it must be. After all, he can't do anything in his current state. Young Jin says that he had saved him from that spirit from Songaski, but the dog replies that it poisoned him. The protagonist had lost his life that night. To save him, he transferred his remaining power to him. His abnormal healing ability is just one of the things that comes from his power. The protagonist questions this, and Jin says he had told him before, to help him recover his strength once again. Outside, someone with a bow lurks from above. The woman coldly observes the house from the top of a utility pole but vanishes shortly after. Back in his house, the protagonist puts on his school shirt, but he feels a pain in his arm, wondering why it's so sore, and his legs too. He wonders if this is real because it's impossible that just a little running could make him feel like this. Jin asks if the protagonist has some kind of book of historical records, or any book that tells history in chronological order, how the world developed until now. Young Jin asks what he's talking about. Jin asks if such a thing really exists, and the protagonist says it's ironic for him to ask something like that. The dog asks what that book was. Youngjin replies that it told the history of the area. Then he announces he's going to school, and Jin wishes him a good class. On his way to school, the protagonist checks his phone. In the hallway, someone points their phone with a ghost hunter app. He gets frustrated when he finds nothing, but his phone is snatched from his hand. Some girls ask what he was filming and if it wasn't some kind of prank. The boy says he wasn't the one recording, and the girls tell him to explain. He replies that it was a ghost detector, a spiritual app. The girls tell him to show them where the videos are, but the nerd says he didn't record anything. It was just for viewing. A classmate puts his hand on Jiwon's shoulder, asking if he's filming ghosts again. Then he apologizes to the girls, saying he's into ghost stuff and was investigating if there are any at the school. A girl takes the phone from his hand, saying he's always been like this since middle school, so they should be patient with him. Jinwoo replies that he has empathy. Do-kyung says they're getting him all wrong and that he should stop filming because he has other cool equipment. The girl shows them his photo gallery, which is full of selfies. That guy was trying way too hard to look cool in those pictures. Do-kyung apologizes again, and the girls just nod. His friend calls out to Jinwoo, telling him to knock it off. She says he's always running around with a camera and getting into trouble, but he insists he'll explain everything properly. She adds that he's going to end up in the principal's office at this rate. Do-kyung says he can make his point without cursing, and the girl replies that he was just talking nonsense, not cursing. The guy continues, saying his friend was on his floor and hadn't even put his backpack down yet. He gets spooked as he realizes they might be ghosts. Karira tells Do-kyung not to believe a word he says, because she's only acting this way because she trusted him. Jinwoo asks what he did, and who they think they are. They were arrogant since he doesn't trust anyone but himself, but they must have found it strange when they went on the retreat. Do-kyung says that one time, Jiwon recorded a ghost voice in the hallway, and joke words started appearing on the radio. Karira says it was just an electronic device, and that it was probably an error caused by the surrounding electromagnetic waves. Jiwon replies that she was right. It was a signal error. Ghosts are made of powerful magnetic fields. He asks what happens when such entities are in a field of electromagnetic waves. A working light bulb will start to flicker, or a sensor will fail. They cause interference with the waves, making devices act erratically. He then comments that Karira knows more than he thought and offers to make her his apprentice. The girl asks where he saw a ghost, and Jiwon says it looked just like her. Karara gets annoyed, saying she was being serious before. She really wants to confront him, but instead asks what he's doing with those toys. Then, a signal beeps near Youngjin's classroom. Do-kyung says this means there's a ghost from their class. He asks if he wants to come in, saying he'll get permission from the others. A girl approaches Do-kyung and asks who that guy is. The guy replies that it's Jiwon, a friend from middle school. The guy asks if he can take a look at their class, and the girls say they don't care, but they want to know what his radio is. Jiwon tells her not to touch it, because if she touches it with a handful of negative energy, it could break. Other classmates call Do-kyung over. On his phone, Youngjin notices messages from Huisu. She's asking him to come to the science lab right now. She wants to give him something and says it would be weird if she went to him. The protagonist asks if it can wait until after school, but the girl says no. He gets up and tells his friends he's going to the bathroom. Then he notices the door, where Jaehyul says the popular kids are blocking the exit. He wants to see if he'll get the nerve to tell them to move. There has to be a way to leave through the front door, since he wouldn't dare go out the back. Do-kyung notices the protagonist standing there, so he tells everyone to stop blocking the door and smiles at Youngjin. His friends comment that he's the man, because all he had to do was stare at the guy and everyone cleared out. Youngjin approaches the door and walks past Jiwon. Suddenly, his radio and all his other devices start blaring about destruction and chaos. Do-kyung asks what that was. Jiwon says it's a ghost detector and it must have gone off when that boy walked by. It seemed like they had found the class anomaly. In the lab, Huisu hands him a bracelet. She explains that her mother made a small one for her and wanted to give one to him too. The protagonist asks if she only called him here to give him this. He takes the bracelet and tells her to thank her mother. Huisu then asks if he's going to wear it now. The protagonist says that if he wears the same one as her, she finishes his sentence, saying people will think it's a couple's bracelet, but it's just a rosary, and other people at school probably wear them. Besides, he's the only one who would see it as a couple's bracelet. She insists he should put it on, because her mother made it out of concern that things would get dangerous again. Youngjin replies that it won't happen. The spirit said they won't bother them anymore. An ancestor told him so. The girl asks why. Youngjin adds that he said his energy entered him or something like that. Remembering Jin saying she lost her life that day and picturing the girl, he decides it's better to drop it. He says that's why his recovery was so fast, and he thinks that's all there is to it. Now he can just go back to a normal life. Huisu says so it was because of his ancestor's energy. That makes sense, and he doesn't need it, because he was completely different. The protagonist asks what she means, and Huisu says he fought very well and held the sword so lightly. Youngjin asks if he had fought and when that happened. The girl asks if he doesn't remember, saying it happened at the prayer house. Suddenly, Youngjin reaches his hand out to her. He knocks her phone down and covers her mouth to stop her from talking. Realizing what he did, he pulls back, asking what just happened. He stares at his hand as Huisu asks what that was about, and the protagonist says he didn't mean to do it. A radio keeps repeating foul words, revealing that Jiwon was at the door. He apologizes, saying their conversation sounded very interesting, so he ended up overhearing a little bit of it. He adjusts his glasses and introduces himself as Gong Jiwon. Furthermore, he's a ghost hunter. Youngjin and Huisu both ask what he means. Jiwon approaches and says it's a pleasure to meet Lee Huisu. He knows she's the daughter of a shaman. The girl asks how he knows, but Youngjin says everyone knows that. Huisu remembers, and Jiwon explains that he knows all the legends of their school. That's why he enrolled here. He asks if they know the legend of the moving statue. It was famous among the school's upperclassmen. Youngjin says he has no idea, and the girl says she doesn't either. Jiwon says that the statue at Sampo High runs every night. That's what the legend says. Whoever sees the statue running has to race it. If you don't do it right, or if you cheat, you get hit on the head with a flag. Based on the suspicious circumstances, it's a poltergeist. Sometimes the flagpole is torn out, and it's not because of a typhoon or anything like that. It's already happened 4 times since the entrance ceremony, and they say the same thing happened last year. They are both surprised by this. Jiwon says that recently, an incident confirmed the legend was true, and he happened to see it by sheer chance. He was coming out of the bathroom when he saw it. At first, he thought he was mistaken, but it was very real. The statue chasing after 2 people. A boy was being chased by the statue, and a girl with her hair tied up was right behind him. And the most surprising part is that the flagpole, which was fine in the morning, had been ripped out the next day. And there was always a level 5 EMF reading at the statue. Since that day, not even a level 1 reading has appeared. In other words, whatever was there is gone. It completely vanished from inside it. So he asks them directly if they were with the statue, but they both deny it. Jiwon says they're lying and asks why it has to be this way. Normally, when he says something like this, people argue with him, ignore him, or even question what he's saying. But they didn't do any of that, they just denied it. Their reaction and the evidence prove his theory, like the EMF reading. Just to be clear, it's a device that measures electromagnetic fields, and a ghost is composed of electromagnetic fields. This device is used to detect them. Youngjin asks if there's any scientific basis for that. The guy says that when the meter finds him, it hits level 5. This means something is inside him now, and that's his verdict. Youngjin confronts him, asking where this evidence is. Jiwon says it's obvious, since there would be no reason for his equipment to react like that. After all his equipment was reacting to him. The protagonist says he has no idea what he's talking about. He doesn't need an explanation since he's already drawn his own conclusions. He wants to know what he's getting at with all this. Jiwon asks if they are also ghost hunters, but neither of them knew what that was. It seemed like a question from another world. He tells him to listen up. That statue and everything else has nothing to do with them. Then he calls Huisu so they can leave. Jiwon asks why they keep hiding, because I didn't want it to come to this. The protagonist turns around, listening to a video on his phone. Jiwon says that cameras nowadays have professional quality. It's easy to take a picture from this distance, and the protagonist is surprised. The guy insists he's not a bad person, and they don't need to hide, but Huisu says he just made himself look like one. Jiwon explains that he actually has a request. He wants to know if they've heard of the supernatural antique shop. In the classroom, Do-kyung is resting peacefully, until a classmate behind him gets his attention. He hands him a box saying he wanted to give him this. Do-kyung asks what it is, since it's the first time he's ever received a gift from a guy. But he thanks him, though he wants to know who he is and what his name is, because he can't remember his name, and the other guy says, "No way." He exclaims that he's a hypocrite for that, and Do-kyung is surprised. A light starts to shine from the box, which contains a doll and a die. It grows brighter, and a spirit emerges from inside, moving toward Do-kyung. As the day goes on, the teacher asks how far they got in last week's lesson. Youngjin wonders why he's so tired, but he's surprised when he looks at his phone under the desk. The paranormal investigator sends his number to the protagonist. Youngjin questions what this is and asks how he got his number. Jiwon replies that Huisu told him. He asks if he could go to the antique shop with him just once, but the protagonist refuses. He says that Jiwon needs professional help and should go with someone else, but Jiwon insists Huisu will only go with him. The protagonist looks up as the teacher asks whose empty seat that is. They notice it belongs to Do-kyung, the class vice president. They wonder if he didn't show up since he was at school earlier, but maybe he just went to the bathroom. However, Do-kyung suddenly opens the classroom door. The students murmur that Do-kyung has arrived. The teacher then calls out to him asking where he's been. Do-kyung is silent for a few seconds, but then apologizes. He walks toward the window, but his friend asks where he's going, since his seat is right there. Do-kyung sits down, and the protagonist notices something is strange. Meanwhile, that guy spins a die between his fingers. A classmate mentions that he always boasted about being punctual, yet he was almost marked late. He's surprised when Do-kyung holds out his fist. The guy gives him a fist bump back. Do-kyung offers a game of rock, paper, scissors for 10,000 won, but his friend says he doesn't have any money. The guy says he can pay with a favor, and the classmate considers the 10,000 won. He says he'll take the deal. Do-kyung starts the game, throws scissors, and loses to his friend. He celebrates, saying that real men always choose rock. Do-kyung hands him the 10,000 won bill, saying he bet on it too. He asks if he wants another round, and his classmate agrees, but this time they'll bet 50,000 won. His friend remarks that people with money play on a whole different level. They play rock, paper, scissors, but this time he loses. He gets frustrated, and then Do-kyung's hand reaches toward him. The guy is shoved and falls to the floor in shock. Other students ask what that was and what he just did. Do-kyung starts laughing, saying that a real man has to take risks, but he only threw rock. His friend tries to help park up as he's stunned, saying they should call the nurse. Do-kyung turns to the others, asking what the problem is. It was just a joke. He grabs his arm, saying he won the 10,000, so there's no problem. He jokes that he was holding onto the money tightly, and his friend says that was a bit intense. Do-kyung asks if it was supposed to be a joke, but he gave him 10,000 for real. He had warned him there would be a consequence, but this other friend had said he would do it too. He denies it, and Do-kyung gets up, saying that was no fun. He leaves the classroom while the other students check on Park after the push. Jae-yeol says it looked like the beginning of a school bullying story. Another friend says it seems more like the start of an isekai story, and maybe he's a villain reincarnated in Do-kyung's body. The protagonist watches this, surprised. Elsewhere, people are talking about Do-kyung suddenly acting that way. They'd never seen him lose his temper before. He seemed like a different person. He was intimidating, but someone mentions that Do-kyung takes acting classes, so maybe he's just preparing for an audition. They wonder if he would really practice so realistically at school, and that he must have landed the role of a problem child. A boy then calls out to Do-kyung. He tells him he shouldn't be breaking the rules, as they're in the middle of class and the teacher will be back soon. Do-kyung says his voice is so low he can't even hear him, so he should speak up. People wonder what's gotten into him, as Do-kyung seems to be acting strange again. Then he approaches the student, saying he was just kidding. This doesn't feel right. And the classmate repeats that the teacher will be here soon. Do-kyung suggests they bet on it. He bets 10,000 won that the teacher will walk in as soon as the bell rings, and offers the same amount for the opposite bet. And if he doesn't have the cash, he can pay with a favor. That guy gets scared, and Do-kyung comments that he's shaking, until Karira gets his attention. She appears at the classroom door. She calls Do-kyung's name, and the guy sees her grabbing his arm. He then tells her to come outside. Do-kyung pulls free, and Karira asks what's gotten into him to make him act like that, and where he got that die, since he hates breaking rules. Do-kyung quickly tosses the die, and Karira asks if he's even listening. He asks her if she thinks it's even or odd. Karira replies that she's not in the mood for games. Do-kyung tells her to hurry up, and the girl chooses odd. He grins because she lost, showing a 2 on the die, so now she'll have to pay with a favor, pulling Karira close. The girl trembles in fear but firmly pushes him away. She says he's a creep. From a distance, the classmate watches this, bearing the same mark on his neck. The day at school goes by and Ji-won is walking around. He unlocks his phone and continues to plead for Youngjin's help. He asks if he really thinks it will change anything, since they're in the same space. Entering the classroom, he says, "Excuse me," but his radio beeps red, and Ji-won says that he seems to be nearby. So he starts searching, saying there's no use hiding since it's a piece of paranormal equipment. But his hand brushes against Do-kyung. Ji-won is startled, and his detector falls to the floor. He calls out to his friend and notices a strange smell. Do-kyung bends down to pick up the detector and examines it in his hand. The radio starts beeping and sends a message to Ji-won's earpiece. It then emits a high-pitched sound that startles the boy. He asks what that was and why it happened so suddenly, but he asks Do-kyung to please call Youngjin. He sees on the radio that the spirit's words are pleading for help. Ji-won throws the radio on the ground, smashing it to pieces. The guy is surprised by this. Do-kyung asks if he has any manners, since the normal thing to do when you bump into someone is to apologize. Ji-won says he's sorry, but the other guy tosses the die into the air and catches it in one hand, asking which one he thought it could be in. Elsewhere, Huisu draws the devil card, saying he's possessed. Do-kyung from the protagonist class is possessed, but Youngjin couldn't care less. The girl stands up and calls him Ghost Hunter Dragon Jin. The protagonist asks why they need to get involved, and she replies that she needs to save her friend. But Youngjin doesn't consider him a friend, or even a close classmate. He wants to know how she can be so sure just because of a card. He was normal this morning and suddenly he's possessed by a spirit. It's probably just the way he is. Someone whose mood swings all the time is a bit extreme, but it's not hurting him, so whatever. Huisu thinks for a moment. Youngjin tells her not to call him that in the future so others don't overhear. Huisu wonders if he's truly a good person. If so, he must be suffering greatly, just like she did when her body was taken against her will. That's incredibly sad. Ji-won interrupts, saying that as someone from the same middle school as Do-kyung, he has something to say. Do-kyung is a good guy who can't handle confrontation or offending people. That kind of behavior only exists in fiction. Furthermore, he doesn't have the guts to gamble, let alone be bold. He asks if Youngjin wasn't in that ward too. Huisu asks what happened to his face. Ji-won replies that he was hit by a ghost. He asks for help again, but the protagonist refuses. Ji-won thinks for a few seconds. He says he won't ask him to go to the haunted antique shop, and he's also sorry for what happened earlier. He reiterates what Huisu just said. She had her body taken against her will, and since she managed to perform an exorcism, that's why she's there. After all, they aren't ghost hunters, so they exorcised the statue too. The protagonist asks if he's going to keep going with this story because he wants nothing to do with it. Suddenly, Huisu notices something on her phone. Ji-won announces that the advance payment for the job is right there. He'll pay whatever balance Youngjin asks for later, but please, he has to help. This time, he was begging to save Do-kyung. His glasses fell off the moment he was hit. Then, his radio started crackling, calling for backup. Do-kyung was staring at him with a macabre smile, but Youngjin keeps insisting that Do-kyung wouldn't do something like that. Huisu could help him since she's on her way out. The girl looks at Ji-won and leaves the room. The young man stays in the room alone, deep in thought. Elsewhere, Youngjin wonders what mess they want to drag him into this time, but please, they should just live normally from here on out. From now on, He's only going to prioritize his own safety and never get involved again. He walks down the hallway and notices Do Kyung standing there with a classmate, talking about girls coming to see him. Youngjin thinks that kind of talk suits him better, but as he walks past, his hand moves on its own, pulling Do Kyung toward him. The protagonist himself can't understand why he did that. Huisu arrives and stares at the protagonist holding Do Kyung's shirt. She thinks that even after their conversation, he's trying to exorcise him. Just as she thought, he's kind. The classmate asks what the guy is doing, but the protagonist moves his own arm back, apologizing because it wasn't him. Do Kyung asks who it was then, since it's his hand. He takes a die from his collar and tosses it in front of the boy, trapping it in his hands and calling him friend. He wants him to guess which hand it's in. Youngjin asks if this is really happening out of nowhere, but his hand moves, and he notices it's acting on its own. He chooses one of Do Kyung's hands. The man opens his mouth slightly, but says he got it right, passing by while telling him to be careful next time. Youngjin doesn't understand a thing, and Do Kyung stares at him coldly. Later in the classroom, the protagonist looks at his hand, wondering what's happening. Suddenly, his hand moves his fist, startling him. Moving his hand against his own face, Jaeol asks what's going on. Did he leave his brain at home? Or is he training for something later? Youngjin tells him to grab his arm, not the left one, but the right. However, his arm moves rapidly, scaring both of them. Jaeol asks if he has to participate in these lame skits, because it's giving him the creeps. The protagonist says his left hand is moving on its own. A classmate suggests he might have alien hand syndrome, explaining it's a condition where a hand moves without the person's will, as if guided by an extreme force. Youngjin thinks that's literally him, and he did get hurt recently. Now it makes sense. His body feels stiff too, so maybe it's paralysis. Behind him, someone tries to hit him, but Youngjin interrupts the attack by moving his hand. Sihu laughs at this, saying he's been through so much that his body now reacts automatically. The protagonist tries to explain, but Sihu tells him to drop it. He asks if a guy named Do Kyung is in his class because he needs to pick up a personal item from him. Youngjin asks why he doesn't just ask for it, but Sihu replies that he's too lazy. The protagonist points out it's more of a hassle to come all the way here, and Sihu passed class 3 on the way. Sihu replies, telling him not to annoy him. Youngjin tries to stand his ground, but his hand starts moving. He announces he'll get it for him and is going there right now. Sihu laughs at the weird way the protagonist is walking. On the way to the classroom, Jiwon looks at a new device. It marks a green light pointing toward a location. With another device, he points at the wall with a normal frequency, but it suddenly shifts to a negative degree. Jiwon is surprised by this, realizing there was a wooden box right there at the end. Back in the classroom, Youngjin walks by, wondering if he should pretend he knows nothing, or he'll just get into trouble again. Do Kyung asks if he's prowling around behind him like a fool, and if he's looking to make a bet. Youngjin denies it, explaining that Sihu said he had something to pick up from him, something he borrowed. Do Kyung remembers that, and says Sihu lost the bet, so he gave it as collateral to avoid problems. It was that item he said to pick up. Youngjin says he didn't mention that part, but Do Kyung asks if he's going to get into trouble for Sihu's sake, and the protagonist asks why he would do that. Then you can have this in that case. Do Kyung gets up from his chair, saying it was his before, so he'll return it. Youngjin accepts and turns around, but he only manages to come face to face with the dice. Do Kyung grabs a hand and says it's on the condition that he guesses correctly. He wants to know if it's evens or odds. Everyone there is surprised by this. The protagonist replies that he can keep it, but Do Kyung says he still hasn't understood, apparently. Youngjin says he won't gain anything from this, but the guy tells him to just choose. The protagonist chooses even, and Do Kyung starts humming, revealing the result in his hand. It was an odd number. He raises his hand to strike the protagonist. Jaeol runs toward Youngjin, and the girls look terrified. But when the hand gets close, the protagonist defends against the blow quickly, moving his hand to flick Do Kyung's forehead. The guy looks startled, but he's launched far away by the power of the strike. Youngjin doesn't understand anything that just happened. People ask what just went down because he literally just flew across the room. Do Kyung gets up from the floor, clutching his face. Youngjin says that was his left hand, thinking he needs to invent an excuse fast. Jaeol asks if they're going to keep doing this, and his friends say he was hiding his potential. A girl questions this. Youngjin adds that Do Kyung asked him to be his partner. People comment that he was preparing for acting, so it makes sense. The protagonist thinks they bought the idea way too quickly, but everyone starts saying Do Kyung did well and his acting was complete. The boy takes his hand off his forehead, revealing the bruise. He calls out to Youngjin, saying that was very interesting. The protagonist thinks the situation has just become complicated. People in the room comment that they seem to be friends, and Huisu watches from outside. In that hallway, Jiwon holds the box, commenting that one can see it's suspicious, full of strange energy. Is that ancient writing? But there's something on the lid too. This was definitely a spiritual object. He wonders why this thing, which belonged to the antique shop, was there. Suddenly, Karira calls her friend to talk. Outside, Jiwon says that Do Kyung is now a ghost. The real one was probably in a spirit state, lingering near his body. When he was hit by him, he was caught in the ghost box. Karira asks for an explanation. Jiwon continues, saying it's something that combines the words the ghost wants to say through a radio channel to form a message. The girl asks what Do Kyung had said before. The young man repeats that it was a cry for help. Tears fall onto the cell phone. Jiwon asks if she's okay, and Karira replies that it's nothing. The boy explains that when it was the cheap device, she had a different reaction. The girl says that's typical of Do Kyung. Suddenly, he turned into a different person, and that person definitely isn't him. Since things that don't make sense are happening, they have to believe it. Earlier, those eyes didn't look human. They were terrifying. Do Kyung must be scared right now, wondering what to do and why this happened so suddenly. Jiwon says he was fine before first period, but after that, he started acting strange. Karira asks what happened between those two moments, and Jiwon replies that he knows. He believes the culprit is inside the school. Karira says that's right. He had mentioned there was something at the school. She wonders if this is it, but Jiwon says he can't be sure. But he managed to get some proof, and if it's not this, then nothing else makes sense. He's going to exorcise the ghost personally, this arrogant entity. He tells Karira that today, she will see him as a true exorcist. As the day went on, Youngjin looked at his arm. He thought about how when he touched Do Kyung's forehead, he was forcefully repelled. It was pure brute force. Suddenly, Do Kyung touches his shoulder. He asks where he's going and if he wants to play a game with him. Youngjin says he's heading home, and Do Kyung suggests they play at his house instead. But the protagonist says he has a dog, and it's not well behaved. Do Kyung grabs his wrist, telling him to play just one more time. However, the bracelet Huisu gave him begins to glow. The spiritual power of the bracelet forcefully pushes Do Kyung's hand away. The boy trembles, wondering what just happened. Youngjin replies that the reaction is good, but he starts swinging his arm at him, and Do Kyung backs away. Youngjin starts running, swinging his arm to try and touch him. The boy's face turns sour as he mutters. He just needs a little more time for his strength to return. At home, Youngjin complains that he feels permanently damaged. He questions if it was because of Jin's power. He says he's going to settle the score with him. Jin says he can bring him over as a snack, and that he mentioned it just in time because he's very hungry. Youngjin gets angry, saying his left hand has caused a lot of trouble. The dog replies that he transferred his power to save him. It's because of this power that ghosts aren't attacking. But Youngjin asks if they didn't attack the dog before. He wonders if it's his power that's provoking the ghosts, since they even managed to hit him. They control his arm as they please, but Jin says that isn't his arm. Youngjin swings his left hand up and down, asking what he means. The ancestor asks if his arm wasn't severely injured by the puppet. Then he sighs, saying that, to put it simply, his left arm was the last of the power that remained inside him. It was made with the power of the black dragon. Elsewhere, Jiwon looks at his phone, which says he needs to go to this shop with a shaman. He wonders if this is the place, and Karira comments that it looks like an abandoned house. Either way, they need to check it out. Jiwon puts his backpack on the ground, telling her to wait. If they go in together, it will look suspicious. He'll be the one to enter the shop. At home, Jin explains that his power is composed of the red dragon, blue dragon, white dragon, and the black dragon. However, now all of them have disappeared except one. His left arm is all the power he had left. It was made from the black dragon, the strongest of them, but also a very arrogant power. Youngjin is shocked by this. He asks if Jin takes it back, and Jin replies that he'll be left with only one arm. He would be completely disabled, but he was strong. He asks why Youngjin hates it so much, since in this insignificant body, it's not a power that brings any loss. Youngjin says it's messing up his school life. Jin says that besides that, he has a question. He wants to know if there's any record of the guardian god or the 12 clans. In this book, there are no records after Dangun, and Youngjin asks what he's talking about. He points out it's showing the era of the 3 kingdoms, but Jin says that's not it. The protagonist asks what he's looking for, because this is everything. But Jin finds it strange. Suddenly, at his house, someone calls his name, inside the antique ghost shop. Jiwon places his camera on a shelf and asks if anyone is there. An old woman's voice asks if he came to buy something. Jiwon says hello to her, while the camera records everything. Outside, Karira looks at the spectrogram. She analyzes it with the information Jiwon had given her. If there's no one else there besides them and these green lines appear, she has to call him, as one of those lines is on his body. Jiwon asks if this cursed object is from here. The woman asks what he wants, and the boy thinks that he knew this was the reason. So he wants to know how to break the curse, and he asks if she can please tell him. The old woman replies that's a sorcerer's job. She only provides the items. Jiwon then asks if a student from Sampo, wearing the same uniform, bought this. The old woman says they don't reveal client information. Jiwon thinks it won't be that easy, but the woman asks what he came here for since he seemed so discreet just a moment ago. The boy replies that he's more relaxed now. He was testing how quiet she could be and says he'll buy the item. A friend who bought it told him about this place, but it's still an item that curses others and must be kept secret. The old woman places it on the table, saying that cursed items have a gazing effect, so he shouldn't look at the contents. This is the amulet the sorcerer must have, and if it's just for fun, he should tear it up within 49 hours. Jiwon asks if the curse will be broken, and the old woman confirms it, but the boy asks what happens if he waits longer than that. The woman suspiciously replies that she doesn't know, and Jiwon says that's great. He thinks something is strange. He already knows how to break the curse, so he wants to know how much it costs, but he didn't bring any money. The woman tells him to put his nail and hair in it and write his name. Jiwon says that it wouldn't be free then, and there should be nothing left. The old woman says what she asks for is extremely valuable. The boy asks what to do. He has genetic hair loss and is undergoing treatment, so he can't give her his hair. He shows her the state of his nails. Today, he'll just write his name, let his nails grow, and come back later. He asks if he should write there, but the woman grabs his wrist. She tells him to make a thumbprint and write his name. Jiwon questions this, but notices the old woman holding a sharp object menacingly. He says he has a rare skin condition and must take precautions before doing this. The boy goes to the corner of the shop and gets something from his bag. He takes out a small red pen and then calls the woman several times. He explains he has a condition that prevents him from getting injured, and the old woman says he's full of problems. Jiwon places his finger on the paper, asking if he can write his name now. The woman tells him to write it quickly, and Jiwon jots it down. He writes the name Kim Capybara on the paper. Then he shows the paper to the camera, and the woman asks what he's doing now. Jiwon asks if he can't look, saying he just wanted to check if he wrote it correctly. But suddenly an alarm starts to blare in the shop. On her watch, Karira starts calling him. Jiwon says he's leaving, but the shop door slams shut on its own. A dark atmosphere begins to take over the place, making everything dark. The old woman says he lied. Jiwon looks around and tries to call for the woman. He says he's going to report her and asks if she can hear him. He wants to know what's happening, but a light appears as the door begins to open. Karira is using immense strength to open the gate. She yells for the boy to get out quickly, because she can't hold on much longer. Jiwon says he knew this would happen and runs for it, but something starts dripping from the door. It had turned into a mouth that Karira was holding open. Jiwon runs, and the girl is left behind. He screams for his friend, but the gate closes with her inside. Jiwon turns and screams again, but Yongjin moves quickly and strikes the gate with his sword. This causes the creature to repel Karira, throwing her outside. Huisu catches the girl in her arms, but Jiwon just stares at the protagonist, thinking he looks so cool like that. Something starts to open the door again, and Jiwon yells that it's coming. Yongjin is startled by this and readies his sword. Jiwon thinks that seeing something like this is like a cartoon, but it's weird in real life, because the boy is swinging at the tentacles all wrong. This is crazy. A fist suddenly hits the protagonist. Huisu runs, pulling incense sticks from her bag. Jiwon wonders if something is wrong here for the shaman's daughter to have come. But the girl trips, and Jiwon wonders how they exercise those statues like this. If this keeps up, they're going to lose. But then he notices some iron rods on the wall. Yongjin was being trapped by the tentacles, thinking he couldn't breathe. Jiwon grabs the iron rod and strikes the tentacle, showing off his second dan kendo skills. Huisu is surprised, and Jiwon says now's the time. They all have to run fast. So the group gets away, but someone is lurking nearby. In an alley, Yongjin drops his sword, saying he ran too much. Jiwon asks if they're okay, and the protagonist turns around angrily. He apologizes to them in several languages. He said he didn't know it would be so dangerous, but he's very sorry for getting them involved. He texted Huisu hoping she would come, but if he knew it would be like this, he wouldn't have come in the first place. Huisu says at least he texted. They were in real danger, and next time, he should let them know so they can go together. Jiwon is surprised and asks if they'll really go with him, but Yongjin insists there won't be a next time. Jiwon offers for them to get along from now on, but the protagonist slaps his hand away. Jiwon thanks them for coming. He says Yongjin could have easily ignored it, but he's actually kind and loyal. Youngjin says it's really uncomfortable, and if something like this happens again, it will be their last contact. He questions why they can't just be normal people. Jiwon replies that he was making direct contact with spirits though, but he wants to know where that giant cartoon-like sword came from and wants to touch it. However, the weapon doesn't let Jiwon touch it. He says it might be a barrier, and only the chosen ones can wield the sword, giving examples of similar legendary weapons, but Jin replies that it's a Jokdu. Jiwon gets scared and asks if the dog just started barking suddenly. Jin explains that this sword only affects the unholy. Huisu goes to take care of the dog, saying they should get some water. Jiwon asks if the dog is his and if it ran all the way here, but Youngjin explains he can't take it in taxis. He adds that he used the money Jiwon gave him for the cab. Jiwon says it was much more comfortable, and Youngjin reminds him about the direct transfer to Huisu. The girl asks if the ancestor is okay. Jiwon asks if it's a spiritually sensitive dog, and if he takes it on exorcisms, and the protagonist confirms. Jiwon gets it, saying it's just like in the cartoons. Just then, Karira suddenly wakes up, asking where she is and what happened. She notices the four of them in the alley. She asks what happened to her, and Jiwon asks if she's alright. The girl says she saw something really bizarre and wants to know what it was. Something with teeth just appeared at the shop's door, and Huisu notes that she seems quite scared. Jiwon says that since everyone's awake, they should get to what's important. He tells everyone to take a look at something. The final part wasn't recorded because of the ghost's interference, but he managed to capture the most important thing. Back at the shop, Do-kyung enters and calls for the old woman. He asks how much time is left, but he notices that one of his arms has disappeared. He wonders what this is and if he soaked his arm in something. But the old woman explains that some kids wearing clothes like his came by. It seems they came to save the body's owner, and there was an unusual young man with them. Do-kyung says it must have been Youngjin, who is very strange and even beat him in a game. The old woman asks about it, and Do-kyung explains that he was thrown far away with just one finger. In his opinion, Youngjin isn't human. That old woman was also defeated by him, which was a joke. But the woman asks what that young man has been up to. She tells him to forget it, as there are still 49 hours until the body and soul separate. Do-kyung says they can still burn the talismans, but the old woman says she told them to tear them up, so there shouldn't be a problem, which enrages the boy. The woman explains that humans are creatures who pretend to be calm on the outside but are cowards, and he needs some guarantee to seal a contract. He used to be like that too. Besides, they won't even tear up the talismans. Nowadays, humans don't take this spell stuff seriously, and would rather genuinely pray for someone's downfall and misfortune. Do-kyung questions how she can be so sure of that. The woman replies that the siblings over there are proof of it. She touches his stomach while saying that even if they burn the talismans, he won't be destroyed. It will just return to him, and it will want to stay by his side. She questions if he wants that, with those cold eyes of his, but suddenly, the energy in the room dissipates and they both look back. A person in a mask asks for permission as they enter. Back in the alley, Huisu shouts that 15 hours have already passed. Jiwon asks if any of them know Kim Sunwoo, but they all say no. So there's nothing they can do now. They'll finish everything tomorrow since they have enough time. Karira says there are many names on the paper, and wants to know how he's so sure it's Sunwoo. Jiwon replies that he found it at school. The same strange symbol on the box was also on the paper. Jin replies that it's a Norium Du. Jiwon asks what the ancestor is saying now, and Huisu translates, so the boy says it's the spirit of betting. He explains that according to his encyclopedia, it was a spirit that makes bets with humans to test their luck, but there are no records of it ever losing. Youngjin says that's why it was making even or odd bets. Jin tells them to report this situation to the priestess first. Huisu asks if she has to ask her mom. Jiwon says they're going to visit the shaman and celebrates. From a distance, Karira doesn't understand what the dog is doing. She asks if they're talking to it now, and Huisu replies that they can't hear it since they aren't spiritually open. Jiwon complains about not being spiritually open. Karira says this is strange and bizarre and doesn't seem real, but Huisu translates that Jin didn't want to be touched there because he is one of Youngjin's ancestors. Then the dog slaps her hand. Some time passes, and Huisu's mother says they must burn the talisman immediately because it's dangerous magic. She asks if they are okay, explaining that just watching the video gives her a terrible headache. But the group was fine. The shaman explains that the old woman they met is known as a Muja Gui. It's a spirit that uses human souls to create spiritual familiars, a space formed only by old objects with spirits trapped inside them. The names of the living are written in a register and a contract that steals souls. Both the child who cast the spell and the one who was cursed were not left unharmed. After 49 hours, the body will be completely possessed by the spirit, and the child's soul will be trapped in the caster's talisman. After that, there will be no way to save them. However, the worrying part is that if they destroy the talisman within the time limit, the possessed child will return, but the one who casts the spell will have their soul taken by the mediator. Karira says he deserves it, and the shaman replies that she understands how they feel, but they must bring the child who cast the curse to her. The talisman needs to be burned before the 49 hours are up. The next day at school, Karira and Jiwon open different classroom doors. Huisu does the same, wondering if there was a Kim Sunwoo there. In classroom 2, a student calls for Kim Sunwoo. The boy stands up and asks who's looking for him. Youngjin asks if he is Sunwoo. He wonders why he had to be the one to find him. Then he asks if he has the talisman. Sunwoo gets scared by this and starts running. The protagonist tells him to wait and wonders how he's so agile. He tries to stop the boy but can't keep up. He wonders why it's so difficult and why his whole body aches as if he's overexerting himself. Karira asks if he found Sunwoo, and everyone starts looking at him. The girl quickly runs to him, breaking the 100-meter dash record. Jiwon asks if he gave his hair and nails when he bought that thing. He says he's going to lose his life, as it's a contract offering him to a spirit. She grabs the boy and tells him to hand over the talisman unless he wants to die. Sunwoo tells her not to lie. Huisu says it's serious, and Jiwon adds that she is a shaman. Karira explains that if they burn the talisman, it loses its effect. The boy asks if the spirit will go back to normal too. The girl replies yes, they can put everything back in its place, so he should hand it over. But the boy says he doesn't want to, and Jiwon, along with Youngjin, complains that it's absurd. Sunwoo cries, saying that now she wants it, and it's better to just let him lose his life. Elsewhere, the old woman channels Sunwoo's name, projecting it onto her forehead. She begins the ritual to bind their souls. Sunwoo says his life is ruined anyway, and now they hate him too. On top of that, they'll spread rumors. Youngjin says he was a problem, and Jiwon adds that if this keeps up, he's going to piss him off. Sunwoo replies that he never imagined things would get this far either. Youngjin tells him to just hand over the talisman, and everything will be fine. The boy says if he apologizes, he'll give it back. But they don't know it's the real Do-kyung. That guy pretends to be nice, but he's always mocking and ignoring others. When he gets back, he'll act all meek in front of them, but it's all a lie. That guy is a huge hypocrite. He remembers his time at Gaeon High. Sunwoo complains about the noise of Do-kyung talking. He wonders how he ended up in the same class as those people, figuring the class assignments must have been based on grades. Elsewhere, they ask if Sunwoo will remain class president, or if they'll pick someone new. A boy recommends Do-kyung for class president. Others do the same, and they move to the ballot box. Do-kyung says he thinks Sunwoo should stay on as president, but the vote ends 16-2. People comment that the outcome was expected. Sunwoo thinks it's just a popularity contest, and what's important is doing a good job as president. Someone like him, who just chatters in the back, wouldn't do anything. They wonder who cast the 2 votes. He might have even cast one for himself. Sunwoo thinks they don't even care about grades and were just messing around. He couldn't accept how someone could take away another's opportunity like that. As time passed, during his other classes, Sunwoo unfolds a piece of paper, but he overhears someone say that Do-kyung ranked first in the class, that he's insane, having absolutely everything. Sunwoo wonders if that even makes sense, how a guy like that can exist. But on second thought, his attitude in front of everyone was of someone who knew he'd be chosen. It was all so frustrating for Sunwoo. He thinks he must be laughing at him on the inside. He explains that he pretends to be a good person in front of others, but deep down, he's not. Karira says he just wanted to be president and failed, but now he was losing control. Sunwoo replies that there's something more important. Now for the real part. Karira suggests confronting him to get the talisman. At the Sampo High entrance ceremony, Do-kyung taps Sunwoo on the shoulder. The boy thinks that he goes to this school. His physique is insane, and he must know he's in his class. Do-kyung calls him partner, asking if his name is Jong-hoon. Sunwoo is stunned by this, which only makes him more frustrated. Jiwon comments that it's normal to forget a name, but Sunwoo insists that guy couldn't have forgotten him. Karira says he claims to hate Do-kyung, but this makes sense. He shouldn't remember him. Jiwon adds that he hasn't told them something important yet. He transferred right after that. Nobody remembers someone who transfers at the beginning of the semester. Do-kyung doesn't even know his name, even though they were in the same class. He was just hoping Do-kyung was a hypocrite, forcing a justification all along. Do-kyung says that whether he's a hypocrite or not, that kind of person should just disappear. The world is a huge, extremely unfair mess. He worked so hard, but things are still like this. It's a raw deal since that guy was born with everything. Jiwon says it seems like he thinks everything was just handed to Do-kyung, and Sunwoo confirms it. He was born into a good family with a great background and has been ahead of everyone from the start. That kind of person should just vanish. But Karira yells that he's crazy. Do-kyung has always worked twice as hard to surpass others because he's been hated by people just like him before, and he's afraid of being hated. Sunwoo says that's exactly it. He was preparing his act, probably to defend himself from any controversy. Ji-won asks why he's so twisted, wondering if it's because of the talisman, but Youngjin says it's useless. The boy asks if he's defending him, and the protagonist replies that he thought so too, but it changes nothing. If Cheon Do-kyung disappears, his own situation won't get any better, and the world won't seem any fairer. Nothing would change. He'd just keep seeing people like Do-kyung everywhere and repeat this pointless cycle. However, as time goes on, if Do-kyung vanishes, he'll only have caused one person to disappear. Even with Do-kyung's body, he will have erased his existence from the world, and he'll go on with his life as if nothing happened. Now that is hypocrisy. In the past, Sunwoo looked at it, wondering if it was real and if he could really handle Do-kyung. Now the scales will balance. This is Do-kyung's true face. He wonders if everyone will know by tomorrow and if he'll be suspended. But at home, looking at the talisman, he wonders if Do-kyung will really disappear in 49 hours. This means he caused someone's disappearance. He's about to tear the talisman, saying this is enough, his name is already ruined, but he can't bring himself to tear it. Remembering he's already seen his face, he wonders if he'll show up and confront him, but he never knew this would be real. It was a terrible situation, and from the beginning, he couldn't have acted any other way. It was all Cheon Do-kyung's fault for acting like someone he's not. That's why this happened. He caused this. Sunwoo cries as he thinks about it. Back in the present, he makes the same move. He asks what he's going to do now that it's all done. Youngjin says to just hand over the talisman quickly. Ji-won asks what that was just now, saying it's like a manga protagonist's transformation. He subtly feigns solidarity with a soft criticism that reinforces how useless it all is. It was actually working. Sunwoo searches his pockets, but suddenly the sorceress finishes her spell, ordering him to disappear. Sunwoo collapses to the floor. Karira screams, asking what's happening. He was supposed to grab the talisman now, but Sunwoo says he needs to go to his mother's house. Then he breaks free from the girl. Karira and everyone else are stunned. The boy had just jumped out the window, but only his shoe falls to the ground. Suddenly, the boy comes to his senses. He asks what's going on and why he's like this, but he turns to see Youngjin telling him to be quiet. Sunwoo begs to be saved, please. He doesn't want to disappear. Youngjin tells him to stop struggling while the others form a chain to pull him up. The protagonist says that if this keeps up, they're all going to fall. But that's exactly what happens, and they're all in grave danger. Youngjin uses his draconic strength to pull the boy up. Ji-won asks if he's okay, but the protagonist tells him to let go. Sunwoo looks back, and Youngjin asks if he's crazy and why he suddenly jumped. But the boy replies that he didn't do it, that someone just told him to. After that, he doesn't remember anything else. Ji-won says he thought they were serious when they said he should disappear. Huisu says they'd better burn the talisman quickly, but he notices the object around his neck. It was that item from the antique shop. Suddenly, it starts to burn, and the boy says it's getting really hot. Karira says it must be because of the talisman and that he should take it off quick. The talisman is off, and the girl quickly grabs it. They wonder if they should burn it right now, and Karira approaches with a lighter. However, Do-kyung blows out the flame. He hums the happy birthday song while scaring the girl. He says it was his dear birthday. He was Cheon Do-kyung now. But Ji-won runs and pins him to the ground. He tells the girl to do the ritual quickly. Do-kyung complains that this is a bad situation and that these guys are holding him down. Youngjin tells her to burn it already, and Karira starts to set the paper on fire. The talisman is burned, and Do-kyung collapses. Sunwoo asks if it worked, and Ji-won tries to call out to Do-kyung. The boy's eyes suddenly snap open, and he stands up. He tells everyone that he's very sorry, but Do-kyung disappeared yesterday. He starts laughing at this and says their expressions are priceless. He asks what they think they're doing. Huisu says it can't be. There are still 49 hours left. Do-kyung gets up, and Ji-won says he gave him the talisman, which Sunwoo confirms. But the delinquent says the talisman is worthless now and he doesn't care about it anymore. Everyone in the group is surprised by this. Do-kyung says it no longer exists and it was all a waste of effort. Ji-won says something is wrong. It was supposed to be 49 hours, but Do-kyung grabs his shirt, calling out his name. Then he smashes the camera on his vest, warning that he should have noticed the toy didn't make a sound and is more accurate than he expected. He was searching just like this, right up until the body's original owner disappeared, but he shouldn't cry because he'll meet his friend soon enough. That night, when the masked man approached the old woman, he asked if she wanted to make a deal with him, saying he'd give her whatever she wanted. Do-kyung asks what he is and how he just waltzed in talking nonsense. He should know where he is, but the masked man snaps his fingers, sending the spirit flying with all his might. The old woman runs after her son to try and save him, shouting that the man was insolent as she unleashes her energy. The place begins to distort, ancient objects warping, but the man just touches his mask, repelling all the energy with a barrier. Everything returns to its proper place, and the entire shop becomes orderly again. The old woman wonders what happened and tries to ask what he is, but the man says she's a creature made from a human soul and has just made a huge mistake. It took her 49 hours to capture one soul, using weak magic that any human could perform if they had magical power. The old woman asks what this individual wants. The masked man says that the 49-hour limitation can be removed. The two are shocked by this, and the man asks if they want to make a deal. The offer was about that abnormal kid who'd passed by. He'll give them whatever they want, as long as they bring him in alive. Yongjin easily blocks Do Kyung's attack. He warns that's enough. Do Kyung reacts with a smirk, grabbing Jiwon by the shirt and asking if he's only now decided to play with him because they have to finish the bet since they're tied. He asks, how about this? If he wins again, he'll leave this body and give his friend back. But if he loses, Yongjin's life will be his. The protagonist is shocked by this, and Do Kyung adds that if he doesn't like it, he'll just take everyone's lives. Jiwon tries to say he'll bet his own life, but Do Kyung tells him to shut up, saying he only needs Kwon Youngjin's life. The protagonist accepts, and everyone is stunned. But he sets a condition. It has to be after school, and until then, Do Kyung must stay quiet. Do Kyung lets go of Jiwon, telling him to go to the antique shop after school, and that Yongjin must come alone, but he tugs on his shirt, warning him not to enter the shop unless he wants to die. In the science room, Jiwon says this is a trap you only see in stories. Coming alone means he'll be ambushed, and the promise of being spared if he wins is a lie. Karira asks what happened. They burned the talisman within the 49 hours, and Sunwoo's mark disappeared. Yet Do Kyung didn't return. Jiwon says a terrible idea just popped into his head. He thinks Do Kyung has already become a servant, but Karira cuts him off, telling him not to go there. Huisu replies that his soul must be trapped somewhere. Jiwon says it would obviously be in the antique shop. The gambling spirit told them to go there, and the shaman said it was a place where human souls are turned into servants. If the gambling spirit made a point of telling them not to enter, it means Do Kyung is inside. No one has ever beaten the gambler, but he might keep his promise. That's the reality of it. Karira says there's no guarantee they'll win, and if they lose, he'll be in danger too. But Jiwon says Yongjin will win, because the gambling spirit called it a draw before. The chance is 50-50, so it's worth the risk. The protagonist thinks for a moment, remembering that he only wanted his life, which means he won't target his body. Everything happened because of his left hand. He remembers Jin saying his left arm is made from a black dragon, and definitely won't be a disadvantage. Then he calls Huisu, saying that he fought last time. But that wasn't him, it was Jadagam who handled it. Huisu says he did handle it, but before that, it was Yongjin who did everything after his mother was affected. The protagonist thinks that after that, he doesn't remember anything clearly. If what he said is true and his suspicion is correct, he wonders if he only used his left hand by any chance. Huisu asks if he's left-handed, but he doesn't know. Then the girl turns and mimics a sword pose, saying he had only used his left hand. She questions why, and Yongjin says there's a way. He thinks he has one. First, as the gambling spirit said, he'll go alone. The others question this. Jiwon says he's following the cliche exactly. Huisu adds that it's too dangerous to go alone, but the protagonist replies that if they all go together, they could lose their lives without even trying. The girl says it's still too dangerous, but Yongjin says he'll go with the ancestor. Jiwon asks what the ancestor's powers are, but Huisu replies that he just stands there. As evening falls, Jin remarks that the sun must be rising in the west, since he's volunteering to hunt a creature. Yongjin says that if they don't do this, he'll lose his life, and he can't just stand by. Jin says that now, he finally sounds like his descendant. The protagonist gets annoyed at this, but they finally arrive in front of the antique shop. The dog asks if this is the place, noting it definitely has a dark energy, and he should be careful. He asks if he can really find him, since he can't hear anything, and suggests calling out to see if he answers. Upon entering the shop, Yongjin complains, asking what that smell is. Jin says it's horrible, and the protagonist starts calling for Do Kyung to answer, but the dog notices it's silent, and that there's something in the corner. He gets the protagonist's attention, telling him to get out of there now. Suddenly, the entire shop transforms into a bizarre, organic environment. The protagonist tries to draw his sword, but remembers his left hand. However, that arm was trapped by organic tentacles. He continues to be restrained, and just as he's about to be hit, A tentacle is severed. Do-kyung repeats this action several times, saying he had warned the boy not to enter the shop. Then, he pulls him away, leaving Jin behind. The dog is trapped in the organic mass and calls out to the protagonist. The organic mass begins to form a human figure, asking how he dares to betray it. On Do-kyung's neck, a seal forms. He cracks a smile, thinking he's free now. Then, he stops on a building and starts laughing, saying Youngjin must have seen the look on that old hag's face. But he tells him to be quiet for a bit, since he's the one who saved him. He even tried to take him without any trouble, but something was wrong. Then, he smashes the building, hurling a piece of it. Do-kyung walks towards the protagonist on the ground, staring at him from a distance. He throws a die into the air, catching it quickly in a cup, and several other cups begin to form on the ground. Youngjin asks what that is. Cheon Do-kyung says they were going to bet their lives anyway. The die starts being tossed from one cup to another at an absurd speed. Repeating this action several times, Do-kyung tells him he should try to guess. The protagonist wonders how this happened, and his left hand touches a cup. When he lifts it, a die is underneath. Cheon Do-kyung is shocked and wonders what this is, since it was a 1 in 100 chance. Youngjin says that's good then, but Cheon Do-kyung suggests a best of 3 and tells him to be quiet. This time, whoever rolls the highest number wins. He starts throwing the die on the ground. Youngjin asks why he's suddenly doing this, but notices the die landed on 6. The protagonist says he didn't even give a heads up and that he'd already won. He says he won't play anymore, but his left hand picks up the die. Do-kyung asks what he's doing, and the protagonist tries to stop his own hand. As the die hits the ground, Do-kyung thinks that he has made his roll. Either way, his die only ever rolls a 1. He had won, but with his draconic power, Youngjin slams his hand on the die. They are both stunned. As it's revealed, he rolled a 7. Do-kyung complains that it wasn't fair. He lost because he broke the die. Youngjin points out there's no rule against breaking it, and according to common sense, the best of 3 should have been established at the beginning. Do-kyung starts to laugh, unleashing his energy. He says he feels the urge to confront him. But anyway, no one said he had to take him unharmed. He just needs to take him while he's still conscious, and then he vanishes, advancing at a frightening speed to attack him. Youngjin simply touches his sword, swinging it swiftly with draconic energy. That blow splits the ground and forces Do-kyung to retreat. The protagonist raises his sword and points it at him, wondering when his left hand even grabbed the sword. Do-kyung says he's not human and that this doesn't make any sense. His left hand swings the sword, signaling his intent to neutralize him. This irritates the demon while the protagonist shouts that it wasn't him. They could play another round of dice, but Do-kyung refuses. This was getting very tedious. Youngjin says the first round was his victory, without a doubt, and he must return Cheon Do-kyung. That demon says he already told him. Do-kyung was no longer among them. Youngjin insists he was supposed to return him if he won, but the demon says that if he wants him so badly, he can take his body, take it and perform a ceremony or something. But of course, that was only if he could defeat him, releasing more demonic energy. He advances once more toward the protagonist, but a weapon attached to a rope is fired. The rope nears the demon and slams him to the ground. Do-kyung asks what just happened, then starts to writhe, affected by the attack. Ji-won says this is where the lights go out, and he will be stopped. Youngjin asks how they knew where he was. Jinwoo tells him to check his tie. Then the protagonist sees a tracker attached to it. They apologize, saying they were worried about him. They knew he had told them not to come, but they couldn't let him come alone, knowing how dangerous this was. And more importantly, one of his friends boasts that his own swordsmanship is better. Huisu tells him to unleash his powers like last time, but suddenly the sky turns dark, and they look up, seeing 2 dice barrels being created. Thus the 2 are trapped, and Do-kyung returns, hovering in the sky. He lands on the ground, asking what that was about. He told him to come alone, and Youngjin looks at him with apprehension. Do-kyung says things will get more interesting this way. Creating another dice barrel, he moves his magic with his arms. The protagonist is startled as he moves the barrels at an absurd speed, trying to follow the movement, but Do-kyung stops just as quickly, balancing 3 barrels in a row. Youngjin asks what that was, but Do-kyung says only one of them is empty, and he cuts one of the barrels in half, announcing that was the one. The protagonist shouts for Ji-won and Huisu, but Do-kyung says it's useless. The moment his friends entered the barrels, they were completely isolated from the world. But anyway, now he has to choose one. He has to save at least one of them. Youngjin is speechless. Do-kyung tells him not to worry, swearing that whoever he chooses won't even know what hit them when they're defeated. He finds them quite pitiful, as those poor souls came here to save him, but it seems one of them is about to be defeated because of the protagonist. Youngjin tells him to release them, saying he only wanted his life and he'll give him what he wants. Do-kyung asks why he should accept, because honestly, He could have just dragged him from school. The only reason he made this a bet was for his own amusement. And then he asks who he will save. He must choose quickly, as his friends will run out of air at this rate. There are no air vents, and they would never be able to breathe in there. So, as the seconds tick by, he'll see what happens to his friends. He demonstrates their shortness of breath, and then tells him to choose. Yongjin's heart starts to beat faster. Do Kyung laughs, telling him to look at his face because it was about time to see him in trouble. It was what he deserved for being so annoying. Then he says he'll give a hint, tapping one of the barrels, saying the girl was in there. Then he bursts into laughter while the protagonist stares at him coldly. Dragon energy begins to circulate in Yongjin's body, but he holds back, knowing Do Kyung's body could be injured. So, if he damages the barrels, he could harm his friends in the process. He wonders what he could do to save them. The black dragon awakens in his body, and he grips the sword tighter. Yongjin senses this and moves his body without a second thought. His advance was at an immense speed, leaving trails of his power behind. Do Kyung is surprised by this. The sword slices precisely through each of the barrels. Inside one of them, Jiwon is freed as the blade's movement curves perfectly around his body. The protagonist manages to save both of his friends, but the one hit by the blow was Do Kyung. That was the shaman's sword. It had only affected the gambling demon, as it only strikes unholy beings. Jiwon falls to the ground, asking if he's safe. He hadn't been affected, and questions what just happened. That demon was thrown to the ground, out of the body. He falls, weakened, and Jiwon says he has to record an image of the gambling spirit, but he knew the intense magnetic field prevents image recording. Yongjin tells him to grab Do Kyung and get out of there immediately. The gambling demon wonders what that was and what had just happened. He questions the strange power as the black dragon's energy takes over the protagonist. Jiwon says they should go, but the protagonist tells his friends to go on ahead. He'll follow them as soon as he's done there. Huisu asks what this is about, saying he can't do this and they need to go now. The protagonist says that if he goes with them, he'll put them in danger, so they should leave quickly. Jiwon says they should go, because if they stay, they'll just get in the way. Considering the state the gambling spirit is in, Yongjin surely has everything under control. The gambler begins to get up, irritated, but his attacks are stopped by Yongjin's precise strikes. He continues his relentless assault, and Jiwon can see that everything is under control. That demon becomes wary of the manifesting energy, thinking that this can't be happening, until the figure of the masked man appears in his head and he starts to leave. His demonic body grows stronger, and smoke pours from it. The protagonist is confused as the demon writhes. He wonders what is happening. The gambler remembers the masked man telling him to bring the protagonist back alive. The old woman says he can certainly do it alone, but the man says that if that were possible, he wouldn't have come to a place like this. The old woman says he's very insolent, and that they never had a choice, it seems. That man replies that he will make the necessary arrangements for her. He throws a seal onto her head and another onto Do Kyung's neck. It begins to seep in, and the gambling demon asks what he just did, but power starts to take over his body. He's surprised, but looking to the side, he sees the old woman has recovered her arm. She was transforming into something. Then that masked man says he would give them until tomorrow to finish the job.